Hello everyone, Zeno here. Here to bring in part 16 of What If TMNT Were Teleport in Avatar. Link down description of the fanfiction of this What If. Listen here YouTube. I do not own anything and this is not a scam. Chapter 32, Sozin's Comet, Old Friends. Zuko, Leo, Raph, Katara, Dawn, Mikey, Sokka, Toph, Karai, Mai, Ty Lee, Suki, April, and Casey had June in their eyesight as Sokka recalled a memory. Hey, I remember her. She helped you attack us. He said to Zuko. Yep, the firebender confirmed. Back in the good old days. And you say that her pet can track both Aang and Master Splinter's scent? Dawn asked. Zuko nodded. You sure she's gonna be able to help us, Zuko? Leo asked as well. This may be our only chance, Leonardo. Karai answered for Zuko. We have less than 2 days till the comet arrives. Gee, no pressure or nothing. Mikey uttered as the group walked forward. June spotted the large group approaching out of the corner of her eye, but it was the former Fire Prince that really caught her attention. Oh great, it's Prince Pouty. She groaned, resulting in Ty Lee and April giggling slightly. Prince Pouty. That's a good one. Ty Lee chuckled a bit as Mai smirked as well. Where's your creepy grandpa? June asked Zuko. He's my uncle, and he's not here. Zuko answered. So what's with the large company, you guys got a party planned or something? June questioned. You could say that, April replied. June noticed how Katara was next to Zuko. I see you worked out things with your girlfriend, Scarface. That resulted in most of the group laughing while Katara and Zuko simply looked stunned, while Mai wasn't quite pleased. Something I should know about? She questioned to Zuko. She's not my girlfriend. I'm not his girlfriend, Katara exclaimed at the same time as Zuko. Okay. Geez, I was only teasing. June eased. Mikey slid a bit toward Katara. Okay, Jet, Haru, Aang, now Zuko. How many boyfriends do you have? Mikey teased. Not now Mikey. Katara groaned. What do you guys want? June questioned. We require your assistance in finding the Avatar. Karai requested. June scoffed a bit. Doesn't sound like fun. That made Zuko a bit angry, but Raph beat him to it as he kicked June's table to pieces. Does the freaking apocalypse sound like more fun to you, lady? Outside, Appa and the giant mole-like creature that belonged to June named Nyla both growled fiercely at each other as both large animals looked ready to pounce on the other. However, Appa gave a large lick on the sheer shoe's face and they both pacified. Both animals looked to see June with Team Avatar, the hooded turtles, and their allies all walk outside. Nyla. June called as she held a raw steak in her hands, which she threw toward her pet who ate it in one bite. June proceeded to pet her. Who's my little, snuffly woofly? That is one messed up pet. Casey commented. Nyla then stuck out her elastic tongue toward him, which he was barely able to dodge. Whoa. June calmed her pet down with a few pets as it growled toward Casey. She doesn't like insults, she told Casey before getting to business. Okay, so who's got something with the Avatar's scent on it? Katara climbed onto Appa to get that something. I have Aang's staff. She climbed down and handed it to June. June then held the staff in front of Nyla who began to sniff it. Nyla then began to sniff the air in order to find the matching scent. Dawn noticed the pet's movements. To be able to track the scent of anyone all over the world, interesting. Nyla began to circle around the whole group as she tried to find the scent. However, after a few more minutes of sniffing, Nyla fell on the ground. She gave a moaning sound as she rubbed her snout. What happens now? Ty Lee asked. Well, what does that mean? Zuko questioned June. It means your friend is gone. June answered as she pet Nyla's head. No duh. That's why we're looking for him. Raph commented with crossed arms. No, I mean he's gone. He doesn't exist. June told everyone. What? Leo and Katara questioned at the same time as everyone bore his or her own look of confusion and surprise. Duh. Mikey said dramatically, only to be smacked upside the head by both Raph and Mai. Meanwhile, on the mysterious island, Aang and Splinter had been walking for some time with Momo hopping on the trees alongside them. Okay, so let me get this straight. Aang began. I fell asleep, then you saw me wake up and just walk toward this island that appeared out of nowhere. That is correct. Master Splinter confirmed. I don't remember waking up at all. The Avatar said. I feel asleep at the house, now I'm here. Where are we exactly? I do not know. Splinter replied. The moment I came to the island, I feel asleep as well. I do not know how, I felt as though some mysterious force had made me slumber. Could it be we're in the spirit world? Aang suggested. If this were the case, then would your pet be able to see us? Splinter suggested as Momo hopped down onto a branch above them to look at them. Well no, but, he could be in the spirit world with us. Aang suggested once more. He then shot his hands forward to shoot out an air vortex. Nope, my bending works. Momo hopped onto Aang's shoulder. Master Splinter pulled down on his beard. Most peculiar. Perhaps we should get to higher ground. He pointed up the hill. Good idea. What do you mean Aang doesn't exist? Don questioned to June. Do you mean he's, dead? Sokka questioned as well. Nope. June replied as she pet Nyla's head. We could find him if he were dead. It's a real head scratcher. See ya. She was about to hop onto Nyla and leave. Gee thanks. Mai said sarcastically. Yeah, that was real helpful. Toph sarcastically said as well. Hold on. Karai stopped June from leaving before turning to the turtles. Do any of you have anything belonging to Master Splinter? We may be able to track his scent. Sorry, no. Leo replied as he shook his head. Anything we could have used he took with him. Well, does anyone else have any ideas? April asked. I think I may have one. Zuko said. There's one other person in this world who can help us fight the Shredder. He turned back to June. I'll be right back with a smell sample. A few seconds later, Zuko held up a small sandal that emitted an odor, forcing everyone to back away in comic disgust. Katara, Leo, Raph, Mikey, Dawn, Suki, Mai, April, Ty Lee, Casey, even Karai plugged their noses as the scent of the sandal with flies flying around it. You're kidding. You saved your uncle's sweaty sandal. Raph questioned as he plugged his nose, despite the fact he and his brothers didn't have any nostrils. That is gross. Mikey stated, which says a lot from me considering I've lived in a sewer. Well, I think it's kind of sweet. Toph said with a smile, as she wasn't the only one plugging her nose. Nyla immediately lunged a bit to the sandal and quickly got Iroh's scent. Let's do this, June said as she pulled on the reins, causing Nyla to run and follow the scent. Hey, wait up, Leo called as everyone quickly boarded Appa. The Sky Bison took to the air with his passengers as they began to follow the fast-moving mole-like creature. Nyla ran on throughout the rest of the night and into the morning as Appa and all the onboard passengers continued follow June. There was virtually no conversation between the whole group as they continued onward. Each one took turns with the reins so the others could get some rest. Leo was at the reins later in the afternoon as he looked toward the setting sun and over his shoulder at the sword of Tengu that was sheathed with his own katanas. He had a serious look on his face as he contemplated on what their next move should be. Night had now fallen as Nyla ran toward the outer wall that led to Earth Kingdom capital. Wait, we're going to Ba Sing Se? Don questioned. Raph groaned. I hate this place. Who doesn't? Toph added. You thought it was bad before, wait till you see what Shredder did to it. Mike commented. Why would Iroh be here of all places? Katara wondered. Isn't this where the Foot built their main headquarters here? She asked Karai. Yes. Foot Central Command was built on top of what remained of the Earth King's palace. Karai confirmed. Which means, we're practically at Shredder's doorstep. Leo said seriously. Nyla stopped at a large hole in the wall, right in front of a large pile of rubble just as Appa landed on the ground. The giant mole began to scratch at the rubble anxiously. Your uncle is somewhere beyond the wall. June told Zuko. Nyla's getting twitchy so he can't be too far. Good luck. You too. And thanks. April thanked her. June nodded as she snapped Nyla's reins and took off. Everyone sat down off of Appa. Okay, now what? Casey asked. Right now we'll set up camp. Leo said. We'll start looking for Iroh at sunrise. Foot Central Command. Hama sat in her room as she looked at herself in the mirror with only some minor clothing to cover her chest. Her eyes trembled as she got a good view of herself. Her once beautiful body had become something else. Her skin was becoming more pale, sores and blisters were growing all over her body and her right eye was bloodshot. She looked at her reflection one more time before a look of anger formed on her face and she punched the mirror, shattering it. What is happening to me? She questioned as she held her head, her hair being a huge mess as well. Hama then fell on her knees as she coughed up some blood, which fell onto her hands as she covered her mouth. Why is this happening to me? Why am I falling apart? The corrupted waterbender looked up to the ceiling. Why? What did I do to deserve this? When did this all happen? Where did it all go wrong? The side effects of Hama's cloned body being grown at an accelerated rate had not only a physical effect, but also a mental one as she recalled events in her life that led up to this point. Was it the Fire Nation? Hama questioned as she recalled her tribe being attacked by Fire Nation soldiers. Was it their warmongering? Or was it those despicable trolls that foiled my plans for revenge? She remembered her fight with the turtles underneath the full moon. No, it was her. Katara's face flashed in her mind repeatedly. It was that insolent and self-righteous Katara. She brought the turtles to my hunting grounds. She stopped me on my path of revenge. It was her actions that led me to the shredder and ending up in this degraded body. She did this to me. Hama's bloodshot eyes widened as it looked like Katara's reflection was in them. Katara, you did this to me. She appeared to lose a great deal of her sanity as she bent whatever water she could find. And I swear, you will pay. She froze the water and sent multiple ice blades outward and shredded nearly everything in her room. Mysterious Island. Aang and Master Splinter, along with Momo, made it to the top of the island where they came to a small pit. Within the pit was an unusual symbol that neither seemed to recognize. Aang, what do you make of this? Splinter asked in regards to the symbol. I don't know, I've never seen it before. Aang said as they both jumped down, with Splinter feeling the ground. This does not feel like normal ground. And I can sense almost a faint energy from it. Master Splinter felt. Aang began to think and took an earthbending stance as he shot his fist up, but nothing happened. It's not made of earth. This is so strange. Indeed. Splinter felt his beard. Yet, I can't help but feel as though we are meant to be here. Meant to be where? Aang questioned as he sat down. We don't even know where here is. He felt his hands as Splinter sat down with him. I really wish we had some help right now. I wish we had Roku. It dawned on Aang. Hang on, I do have Roku. You do? Master Splinter asked with a raised eyebrow. Roku was the avatar before me. He was my past life. Aang explained. I'm connected to all of them, maybe he might know something. Perhaps. Splinter then began to meditate. I shall join you as well. You can do that? Aang asked. As I said before, I can sense spiritual energy from this spot we are in. Perhaps I can use this energy to join you. Splinter explained this time. Well, it's worth a try. Aang agreed as he began to meditate as well. As both he and Splinter entered their trances. In between the two, the blue specter of Avatar Roku manifested itself. You are right, Aang. Roku began. All the past avatars, all their experiences and wisdom, is available to you. If you look deep inside yourself. Roku turned to Splinter. And it seems we have company this time. You are Master Splinter, correct? I am. Splinter confirmed. It is an honor to meet you, Avatar Roku. It is I who is honored, noble sensei. Roku greeted with a friendly smile. Now, what is it that you two would ask of an old avatar such as myself? Where are we, Roku? What is this place? Aang asked. I don't know, Aang. Roku answered honestly. Splinter began to stroke his beard once again. This is much troublesome. It would appear so, however, I can sense that you Aang are lost in more ways than one right now. Roku observed from Aang. I am. Aang confirmed. I need to figure out what to do when I face the shredder. Outside Ba Sing Se. The group had already fallen asleep, most were sleeping on the slumbering Appa. Zuko held Mai close as they slept on one of Appa's right legs with Karai and Ty Lee close by, as well as Leo and Mikey. Katara, Raph, and Don slept on Appa's left legs, along with April and Casey who were close to each other as well. Sokka and Suki slept on Appa's tail. The only one not on Appa was Toph as she slept on the ground in her own rock tent. Toph snored a bit before her seismic sense picked up something, waking her up. She broke down her rock tent. Everyone, wake up. Right as the whole group was startled into awakening, a large ring of fire formed around all of them. Appa roared in discomfort, not being too comfortable around the flames. The group each drew their weapons and took bending stances respectively as they circled up. What's going on? Are we under attack? Katara questioned. Did the foot find us? Raph questioned as well. I knew coming here was a bad idea. Sokka stated. Everyone be ready for anything. Leo told the group as they all stood ready. They all looked around to try and get a sight on their supposed enemy, but Zuko spotted something out of the corner of his eye. Guys, he pointed upward and everyone saw 5 individuals standing on the large pile of rubble of the massive wall. One of them was a dark-skinned man with sunglasses, blue hair tied back, with a dark blue suit and gray trenchcoat, as well as a golden medal with the symbol of the Utram on it. He was the leader of the Guardians. Alongside him were other familiar faces, the Sword Master Piendo, the exile of the Fire Nation Jung Jung, the waterbending master of the northern tribe Paku, and even the king of Omashu Bumi, all wearing blue and white robes. Well, look who's here. Bumi stated as he gave a laugh. While most of the group looked a bit confused and surprised, Leo, Katara, Sokka, Raph, Don, and Mikey were among the first of the group to smile with mixtures of relief and joy. Mysterious Island. Nighttime had fallen on the island as Splinter and Aang were still in their meditative stances, speaking with the spectral image of Avatar Roku. Everyone expects me to take the Shredder's life. Aang began. I know he's nothing short of pure evil, and there is very little possibility he'll try to redeem himself. But, I just don't know if I can do it. Splinter only listened as Roku responded to Aang's statement. In my life, I tried to be disciplined and show restraint. But it backfired, when Fire Lord Sozin took advantage of my restraint and mercy. If I had been more decisive, and acted sooner, I could have stopped Sozin, and stopped the war before it started. I offer you this wisdom, Aang. You must be decisive. Roku's spirit vanished, leaving Aang looking disappointed as he silently looked toward Splinter for any advice. Roku does make a validated argument. Splinter began. While it is admirable to show mercy, there will always be those who take advantage of your mercy. I speak from experience when I say that the Shredder will take advantage of any mercy shown him, while he has none to give. This did not improve Aang's dilemma one bit. Okay, what the shell is going on? Raph questioned. Yeah, we're surrounded by a bunch of old dudes. Casey noted as the group of youngsters faced the smaller group of older individuals. These aren't just any old people. Katara said. These are great masters and friends of ours. She walked toward the elder waterbender who was her teacher and made a respectful bow. Paku. Mikey walked toward him as well. Aren't you that sexist old guy from the North Pole? Katara elbowed Mikey once he said that. Ow. Paku simply smiled as he returned the bow to Katara. It's alright, I deserve that. And it is respectful to bow an old master, but how about a hug, for your new grandfather? That took Katara and Sokka by surprise, even Mikey. Sewa. Mikey questioned. Katara had a look of elation on her face. That's so exciting, she exclaimed as she ran and embraced Paku, while Sokka gave an almost girly shriek. You and Gran must be so happy to have found each other again. I made her a new betrothal necklace and everything. Paku said before Sokka pulled him into an unwelcoming hug. Welcome to the family, Gramp. You can still just call me Paku. He said as he lightly pushed Sokka off him. How about, Grand Paku? Sokka tried. Paku had a deadpanned expression on his face. No. Katara introduced to Zuko the next person. Zuko, this was Aang's first firebending teacher. Jung Jung, the exile introduced as he made a respectful bow, which Zuko returned. Raph walked up to him. I heard about you. The red-clad turtle smirked. Major pointers for sticking to those fire chumps. Jung Jung gave an amused smile at Raph's comment. Sokka walked over to his mentor, alongside Don. Master Piendo. Sokka bowed. Hello Sokka. Piendo greeted with his own bow. It's good to see you again, Piendo. Don offered his hand, which Piendo shook. Likewise, Donatello. Bumi eyed a certain dark-haired girl from the Fire Nation. Hey, I know you. He slid uncomfortably close to her. Aren't you that girl whose father was in control of my city? Yes. Mai said uncomfortably. Ty Lee quickly walked over to Bumi. Look, Mr. Bumi sir, we're sorry. We were on the wrong side, but now we're trying to. Before she could finish, Bumi suddenly pulled her and Mai into one large bear hug, lifting the two off their feet despite his age as he laughed. It's okay. You're on the good guy side now. He continued to laugh as Tai Li and Mai just looked confusedly toward each other. Leo walked over to the leader of the Guardians. Leonardo, my comrade, it is good to see you again. The Guardian said as both he and Leo bowed toward each other. It's good to see you too. Leo turned to everyone else. Guys, this the leader of the Guardians, and the first one I met shortly after our first confrontation with the Shredder. Team Avatar looked in joyous surprise, while Karai looked a bit nervous. No way, you're one of those cool Guardian guys. Toph questioned excitedly. This is so awesome. Sokka practically screamed. More good guy ninjas on our side. If you guys are here, does this mean the Utroms are here as well? Katara asked in an excited tone, as she was actually looking forward to meet the friendly aliens. No, not at the moment. The Guardian began to explain. We returned to the Earth with the intent of aiding you turtles in defeating the Shredder, however we soon discovered that he, and most of the foot had vanished. The Utroms sent us ahead through the Nexus into this world. By the time we came here, it would seem the Shredder's hold on this world has already been cemented. Not for long, Zuko said. We know what Shredder's planning. He's going to crash Sozin's comet onto the planet's surface and destroy all life on it. Suki said, shocking every one of the Elder Masters as well as the Guardians. Surely, someone cannot be so destructive as to destroy all trace of life on this world. Jung said. He won't stop there though. April said. We found out that he plans to use the Nexus to go to the Utrom home world. He's already planning on growing an army of superhuman benders which he plans to use to destroy the Utroms and take over the universe. Leo revealed. The Guardian and Elder Masters looked toward each other. Then our situation is more grave than we thought. Piendo said. How did you find out about all this? Paku asked. We got some inside information. Casey answered as he gestured toward Karai. The Guardian looked with a glare toward Karai, as all the Guardians remember her from her time in the Shredder's surface. Zuko stepped in front of Karai. Look, the former Fire Prince began. Yes, Karai was one of the Foot's top members, and Shredder's adoptive daughter, but now she's with us. She's risked her life to help all of us in. Karai placed a hand on Zuko's shoulder and looked toward him. While she was grateful he stood up for her, she needed to speak herself as she walked up toward the Guardian. Guardian, I know my past crimes in the Foot cannot be undone, but I swear on my life, that I now seek to end the tyranny of the Shredder. She bowed to the Guardian. I understand if you cannot forgive me, but know that I am telling the truth. The Guardian looked for a moment as Karai stood up. I believe you, he said. This caused Karai, as well as everyone else, to look relieved. Katara walked up toward the former Foot Kunoichi. Even if he didn't, I still believe in you. Katara assured, causing Karai to smile. Okay, so how do you guys all know each other? Raph asked the group of Elder Masters. All old people know each other, don't you know that? Bumi asked rhetorically as he laughed again. We're all part of the same secret society. Piendo explained. A group that transcends the division of the four nations. It dawned to Zuko. The Order of the White Lotus. That's the one. Bumi pointed out. The White Lotus has always been about philosophy, and beauty, and truth. Jung said. But about a month ago, a call went out that we were needed for something important. It was not too long after that we met with the Guardians of the Utroms. Both the White Lotus and the Guardians have now joined forces in order to stave off the threat of the Shredder. Paku looked toward Zuko. The call came from a Grand Lotus, your uncle, Iro of the Fire Nation. No way, Mikey exclaimed. That's totally who we're looking for. Then we will take you to him. The Guardian said before he and Paku were pushed aside by Bumi as he looked around. Wait, someone's missing from your group. Someone very important. Bumi closed right into Dawn's face. Where's Momo? Dawn looked a bit surprised at that question, and the fact Bumi's face was less than an inch from his own. He's gone. So are Aang and Master Splinter. Bumi backed off. Oh well. So long as they have each other, I'm sure we have nothing to worry about. Let's go. He shot himself up into the air with a rock pillar underneath him as he laughed over the wall. Well, you all heard the crazy old guy, let's get going. Casey said as they all began to follow him. Mysterious Island. Momo continued to hop around the trees as Aang and Master Splinter continued to meditate with Aang calling another one of his predecessors. Avatar Kyoshi, I need your wisdom. The blue spectral image appeared between Splinter and Aang as she spoke. In my day, Qin the Conqueror threatened to throw the world out of balance. I stopped him, and the world entered a great era of peace. But you didn't really kill Qin, Aang said. Technically he fell to his own doom because he was too stubborn to get out of the way. Personally I don't really see the difference, Kyoshi replied. But I assure you, I would have done whatever it took to stop Qin. I offer you this wisdom, Aang. Only justice will bring peace. Her spirit faded as Master Splinter spoke to Aang. In my opinion, I believe she is correct. If I were in her place, I would have likely done the exact same thing. Aang sighed. Yeah, I figured you probably would. The Order of the White Lotus and the Guardian led the Turtles, Team Avatar, Appa, and their friends down a rocky landscape toward their own secret base of operations. As they walked, Piendo noticed the sword Leo was carrying. Ah, I see you have the sword of Tengu. Leo looked a bit confused. How do you know about the sword? I would know, because I rebuilt it. Piendo answered. The entire group did not see that coming, especially Sokka. You rebuilt the sword of Tengu. Sokka and Mikey both shouted at the same time. Karai also looked stunned. I was not aware you were the one who rebuilt it. I am. Piendo nodded. I have to say, I have never seen a blade like it all my life. Why would you help Shredder rebuild his most dangerous weapon? Raph questioned. I didn't do it for him. Piendo answered. I built it because I had faith it would fall into the right hands and not his. He smiled. And it would seem that I was right. Leo looked toward the sword that he had sheathed and he gave a nod toward Piendo, indicating that he made the right call. Hey, there's one thing I don't get. Sokka said. The Order of the White Lotus knows about the Utroms. Dawn was in agreement. Yeah, I get you guys are both secret societies and all, but both of you are from completely different worlds. Scientifically speaking, it would be impossible for you to interact. Not entirely. The Guardian spoke. You should know by now that our worlds, and other worlds are connected together by a certain force. The Nexus. Karai stated. The what? Mai asked. Think of the Nexus as like an energy tunnel that connects this world to our world and other worlds all across the multiverse. April explained. How do you think we got to your world? Wow, that sounds amazing. Ty Lee beamed. So you guys have all met before? Katara asked. We have. Haku answered as he looked back toward 4 certain mutants. Surely you turtles are familiar with the Battle Nexus tournament. That caught all the turtles by surprise as they suddenly stopped in their tracks. No way, Leo breathed. You all participated in the Battle Nexus. You bet your shell we did. Boomy laughed. The Battle Nexus? Suki questioned. It's a tournament where fighters from multiple worlds meet to fight. Raph explained. And all you old guys were in it. Indeed we were. Jung answered. We even met the one who organized it all, the daimyo himself. As for how we know the Guardians, we were once friends with their most loyal member, Hamato Yoshi. This time the whole group was completely surprised. You knew Yoshi. Leo, Katara, Raph, Dawn, Sokka, Toph, Mikey, even Zuko all exclaimed at the same time. Yes, he was a good man. Haku said. An honorable warrior, we even named him an honorary member of the White Lotus. Wow. Small multiverse. Dawn spoke. Was my uncle in this tournament? Zuko asked. Yep, he even won it once. Boomy answered. Mikey immediately came up to Zuko. Dude, your uncle won the freaking Battle Nexus. That is so awesome. I hear ya. Raph was in agreement as he gave Zuko a friendly noogie. You got the coolest uncle ever, Scarface. Zuko gave a slight laugh as he pushed Raph off. Mai walked a bit closer toward Boomy. So, one question. How are you here? Last time I checked, you were still locked up in Omashu. How did you escape? Escape? Boomy questioned. I didn't escape. Everybody else escaped. Huh? Ty Lee asked, getting a little interested as Boomy began to tell the story. There I was, back in Omashu, waiting for just the right moment. I didn't know what or when, but I'd know it when I knew it. Let me guess, you did it during the eclipse. Mai drawled amusingly, resulting in Boomy giving a maniacal cackle. Flashback. Boomy continued to hang from his metal coffin-like prison within the Fire Nation-occupied Omashu, renamed New Ozai. All of his citizens and soldiers had previously escaped when Team Avatar faked an epidemic to get the city evacuated. He looked up in the sky to see the moon blocking the sun. An eclipse. That'll do it. Using his own will, Boomy Earth bent multiple tiles from some nearby rooftops and brought them into the coffin, where they broke into the metal seal, causing the door to break off. Boomy jumped down and landed on the ground just as a row of Fire Nation soldiers lined up to stop him. "What do you think you're doing?" one soldier questioned as he shot his fist out for a fire blast, but nothing happened, much to his shock, as well as that of his fellow soldiers. He shot another fist out, only to not even produce an ember. Boomy had a mischievous smile. "Taking back my city," he answered the soldier's question. "You got no fire power, and it's payback time." He shot forward on an earth wave. The soldier quickly moved out of the way as he jumped off the ledge of the building he was on and onto the city ground. He shot both his hands up to shoot up a massive column of earth near a Fire Nation built factory before he pushed it off and down the slope, tumbling down the mountain the city was built onto. Boomy repeated this action with 2 more factories before he made a few more fists to shoot out 3 more factories. Thankfully the city had been evacuated early on, so no civilian was injured when Boomy destroyed every single Fire Nation factory within his city. Pretty much every Fire Nation soldier at this point was running for his life as they had no way of stopping the Earthbending King. Boomy looked straight up at the very top of the city and saw the massive statue of Ozai. That needed to go. As 8 soldiers came running up behind him with spears, he shot up 8 earth pillars underneath them to send them flying before he shot the pillars directly at the statue. 2 shot into Ozai's eyes, 2 up his nose, and the remaining 4 into his mouth for a crude smile. The crazy king then used all his strength to shift and move the earth under the massive statue, causing it to tip over. It wasn't long before the whole thing went timber and began to slid down the slope of the mountain city and down the chasm, destroying the bride that led into the city in the process. With that, Boomy had reclaimed Omashu. The mad genius gave a laugh at his victory before quickly biting into a piece of rock candy. End flashback. Everyone had heard that story and each had his or her own impressed smile. "Wow, you took back your city all by yourself," Ty Lee exclaimed in joy. "Yep. Hope you don't mind," Boomy said to Mai. "Not at all," she said with a grin. "I hated that place anyway." "Wow, you're so cool, dude," Mikey exclaimed to Boomy. "Yep, you are one badass old guy," Casey congratulated. "Yes, most impressive," Karai nodded. Raph gave a nudge to his friend. "Watch out, Toph, looks like you got competition," he teased, resulting in Toph giving a friendly punch in the red-clad turtle's arm. "So what about you guys?" Boomy asked the group of youngsters. "Did you do anything interesting on the day of the eclipse?" Leo and Zuko both gave glances toward each other. "Nah," Zuko said. "No, not really," Leo said as well. Mysterious Island. Aang still was looking for an alternative that his predecessors have yet to give him. "Aang," Master Splinter told him, "I cannot speak for your past lives, however, I have a suspicion that may all tell you the same thing you have been told." The young Avatar wouldn't have it. "I need to look deep inside myself," he said as he resumed meditation. Splinter sighed as he too joined him in meditation. In between them manifested another blue spectral image of another Avatar. This one was a man dressed in the garb of the Water Tribe. "I am Avatar Karuk," he began. "When I was young, I was always a go-with-the-flow kind of Avatar. People seemed to work out their own problems, and there was peace and good times in the world. But then, I lost the woman I loved to Ko, the face stealer. It was my fault. If I had been more attentive and more active, I could have saved her." Aang and Splinter both looked in sympathy toward Karuk as they could both understand that kind of pain in losing someone they loved, whom they felt they could have saved. "Aang," Karuk continued, "you must actively shape your own destiny, and the destiny of the world." Karuk vanished. The young air nomad sighed. "I guess you were right, again," he said to Splinter. "Aang, I know that you will likely search again." Splinter began. "I cannot stop you, but if it would help, perhaps speak with an avatar who shares the same background as you." This caused Aang to look a bit elated. "You're right, maybe an air nomad avatar will understand where I'm coming from. I mean, it's worth a try, right?" Splinter nodded as they both entered meditation again, and just like before, another blue spectra image appeared before them. This was a woman dressed in the garb of an air nomad. "I am Avatar Yangchen, young airbender. Avatar Yangchen, the monks always taught me that all life is sacred. Even the tiniest spider fly caught in its own web. Aang remembered. Yes, all life is sacred. Yangchen replied. Aang had a hopeful smile on his face. I know, I'm even a vegetarian. I've always tried to solve my problems by being quick or clever, and I've only had to use violence for necessary defense, and I've certainly never used it to take a life. Avatar Aang, I know that you are a gentle spirit, and the monks have taught you well. Yangchen acknowledged. But this isn't about you, this is about the world. Splinter inwardly sighed, as he knew where this was going, as did Aang. But the monks taught me I had to detach myself from the world so my spirit could be free. Many great and wise air nomads have detached themselves, and achieved spiritual enlightenment. Yangchen said. But the Avatar can never do it, because your sole duty is to the world. Here is my wisdom for you. Selfless duty calls upon you to sacrifice your own spiritual needs, and do whatever it takes to protect the world. Yangchen's spirit faded, and with it, so did Aang's hopes. He gave a deep sigh as he hung his head, while Splinter looked toward him with deep concern. Outskirts of Ba Sing Se. The Guardian and White Lotus members had led the group of young heroes, along with Appa, to a secluded campsite. Bumi used earthbending to create an opening in a large ring of stone that kept the campsite hidden, and everyone walked in. Well, here we are. Bumi presented to the group. Welcome to Old People Camp. He showed them the campsite filled with over 100 tents where one could see a few members of the White Lotus and other guardians out on guard duty while others slept. However, there were other familiar faces as well that didn't belong to either group, one of which caught the attention of Katara and Sokka. Dad! Sokka breathed in disbelief. Dad! Katara shouted in joy as they went running toward him. Sure enough, Hakoda, as well as Bato, Usagi, Pipsqueak, the Duke, Haru, Teo, Jen, Traximus, the Fugitoid, even Leatherhead were all present as the group turned to see Katara, Leo, Sokka, Raph, Dawn, Toph, Mikey, Suki, April, and Casey all run up to them. Katara and Sokka wasted no time in hugging their father, who hugged them back. It's good to see you too. Hakoda told them as Bato walked over to join them. I can't believe it, how are you guys here? Katara happily questioned as she felt tears of joy from her eyes. Shortly after leaving the Western Air Temple, we met up with the White Lotus, as well as these other guys, the Guardians, and we decided to do what we could to help them. Hakoda answered. One of the first steps was breaking out virtually everyone who was part of the old invasion force, Bato added. Leo greetingly bowed to Usagi and Jen as they both bowed to him in return. Usagi, Jen, it's good to see you guys again. Likewise, my friend. Usagi responded with a smile. Yeah, you didn't think we'd be out of the game forever, did you? Jen joked. Raph walked up to the Triceraton gladiator. Good to see you again, Hornhead. Raph greeted. I know, it is good to see me. Traximus joked. If I can handle being a gladiator on the Triceraton homeworld, I can handle whatever tricks these Fire Nation fools can throw at me. Speaking of which, Raph reached behind and pulled out the axe Traximus gave him before handing it back. I think this is yours, Traximus. Traximus took the axe back. Thank you, Raphael. Even for a short time, it was in good hands. Professor, glad to see you're still in one piece. Don said as he and April came up to Professor Honeycutt. Yes, we didn't have much to worry about in the Fire Nation prison in the short time we were all there. The Utram's guardians made sure of that. Honeycutt replied. So everyone from the invasion is here, Professor? April asked. Yes, everyone. The Fugitoid confirmed. He even looked toward Suki. Ms. Suki, we've even taken the liberty of releasing your comrades, the Kyoshi warriors. You did? Suki questioned in a hopeful tone. Indeed. Mikey and Casey at the same time came up toward Leatherhead. The orange-clad turtle came up to him in a hug. Leatherhead. The mutant alligator gave a laugh. It's good to see you as well, my friend. Yep, it's like one big family reunion around here. Casey lamented as everyone was talking and catching up with their friends. This scene did not go unnoticed by Zuko, Mai, Karai, and Tai Li, each of them with their own smiles as they felt their own friends deserved this. Of course, Zuko had his own reunion to attend to, one he was a little more nervous about. Where is he? Zuko asked the guardian who led them there. Your uncle is in there, Prince Zuko. The guardian pointed to the largest tent in the campsite where his uncle would be staying. Zuko slowly and nervously walked toward the tent, but stopped a few feet from it and fell to his knees, unable to enter. Karai looked toward Ty Lee and Mai. All three had concerned expressions as they approached Zuko. "Zuko, are you okay?" Ty Lee asked as she put a hand on his shoulder. "No, I'm not okay." Zuko answered honestly as all three young women crouched to his level. "My uncle hates me, I know it. He loved me and supported me in every way he could, and I still turned against him. How could I even face him? That wasn't your fault," Mai told him. "Shredder forced you to do it, you didn't have any choice. I'm sure your uncle knows it. Iro does not hate you," Karai told him. "Back in the Fire Nation, I visited him in his cell and all he talked about was you." "Really?" Zuko asked in a hopeful tone, looking toward Karai. "Yes." Karai nodded. "All he ever wanted for you was to find your own path, and now you have." "And you're sorry for what happened, right?" Ty Lee asked. "More sorry than I've ever been about anything," Zuko confirmed. "Then he'll forgive you. I know he will," Ty Lee told him. "And no matter what happens in that tent, we're still here for you," Mai told Zuko as she gave him a kiss on the cheek, causing him to smile. Karai nodded in confirmation as well, indicating that she would still support Zuko all the way. The scared firebender stood up and took a deep breath before he entered the tent. "Uncle." Zuko then heard a loud snore as he saw Iro sleeping. He gave a humorous smile as he sat down and simply waited for when his uncle would awaken. Mysterious Island. Aang and Splinter continued to sit as Aang was voicing his grievances. "All my past lives, even an air nomad avatar, are still expecting me to take a life. I am sorry, Aang." Splinter nodded. "However, they have a point. We must put aside our own needs in order to see the bigger picture." The avatar looked down slightly until something came to mind. "I have one option left. I'll see if I can ask Yoshi if he knows what to do. He was a guardian, and he knows the Shredder better than any of my past lives." "You can if you wish," Master Splinter told him. "However, I would not get my hopes up. As you said, my master Yoshi was a guardian, sworn enemy of the foot. I am certain he will tell you the same thing. I still have to try," Aang insisted as he entered his meditative trance, followed by Splinter, as Momo watched the two closely. Another blue spectral image materialized between the two. This was Hamato Yoshi, clad in the garb of the Guardians. Avatar Aang. Yoshi greeted with a bow, which Aang returned. "Master Yoshi." He looked to his right and saw the mutant who had once been his pet rat as the rodent sensei smiled to his late master. Yoshi smiled. "Splinter, I have been watching you and your sons for quite some time, and nothing has made me more proud than you all have." Splinter shed a slight tear of joy, which he quickly wiped away. "Thank you, father." Aang smiled at this before getting serious and speaking to Yoshi. "Master Yoshi, you are a guardian of the Utroms, you have been fighting the foot for a long time. Everyone is expecting me to kill the Shredder. I know what he's planning to do, and I know he has to be stopped, but I don't know if killing him is the only way." Yoshi have a serious expression before responding. "I recognize this is a difficult task for you, but as you said I am a guardian and I know full well of what the Shredder is capable of. He must be stopped at any cost." Aang's expression became grim as Yoshi continued to speak. "Countless have suffered before, billions more are now in danger, there is much more going on than your own personal conflict. I'm not blind to what's happening." Aang tried. "I know you are not, but you must know that when it comes to protecting the innocent, you must be willing to make sacrifices to keep them safe." Yoshi replied. "Though I am not an avatar, I have two pieces of wisdom to share with you. First, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Do whatever it takes to stop the Shredder, at any cost." Aang sighed as he had a feeling Yoshi would say that. "What's the second piece?" "Knowing when to rely on others," Yoshi said, surprising Aang. "I know that you are the protector of this world, however, not all the world has to bear on your shoulders. There are those around you who are more willing to share the load with you. Allow those people to help, and I guarantee you will find what you are looking for. Do what you must." Avatar Aang, Yoshi said before vanishing. Aang couldn't believe it. Deep down he had a feeling Yoshi would say that, but it was still his only hope then. "So, that's it. I'm going to kill the Shredder." "I do not believe that is your only option." Splinter shook his head. "You heard what he said. You heard what all of them said," Aang exclaimed. "They're telling me to kill him. I know he's evil but Aang, Master Yoshi also told you to know when to rely on others. Splinter said. I believe this is one such time. What are you talking about? Aang asked. You are the Avatar and have a duty to protect this world. Splinter began. However, the Shredder is not of your world. He is not only your responsibility, he is mine as well. I made a vow to defeat him, not just to avenge Master Yoshi, but also to protect all others from his evil, and I have every intention of doing that. If you do not feel you are capable of ending his life, that is fine. I shall do it in your place. That took Aang by surprise. What? You would really do that? I must. Master Splinter confirmed. I can't ask you to do that. Aang exclaimed once more. I know he's your enemy, but if I just let someone else do my job for me. Aang, Master Yoshi said you had to look at the bigger picture. Master Splinter continued. And you must know, that the Shredder is not the only monster out there. I have faced many in my time. As Master Splinter spoke, his mind flashed back to certain enemies that fit his descriptions. I have seen beings who have an unquenchable thirst for power and are willing to do anything to get to it. Splinter immediately thought of Draco from the Battle Nexus tournament in his quest to steal the daimyo's war staff. As well as those who are driven by revenge and are blinded in their quest. Splinter's next thoughts were of the daimyo's son, the ultimate ninja, in his quest to destroy Leonardo as vengeance for his defeat at his eldest son's hands. Including those who are deluded by their own grandeur and believe themselves to be saviors, when in fact they are even more monstrous than those they claim to fight. Finally, Master Splinter thought of Agent Bishop of the EPF and his xenophobic crimes. These kinds of beings, there is only one course of action that we must take to truly defeat them. Splinter continued to speak to Aang. They cannot be reasoned with or bargained with. We must defeat them, however we can. Aang had listened to all of this and did not know what to say. Splinter placed a hand on his shoulder. We will face the Shredder, and I know that you will help to stop him. However, if you are unable to finish him, then I do not blame you. Allow me to do it. This allowed Aang to give a deep sigh as he did feel some relief, and also some nervousness, as he did not want someone else doing something he felt was his duty alone. But then again, Aang has learned by now that sometimes, it doesn't hurt to let others help. Boss Sing Se, Foot Central Command. Out of my way. Azula brushed Dark Mikey aside as she walked down the hall toward her personal quarters with the Dark Trolls looking toward her from behind. Well, someone's in a bad mood. Dark Dawn noticed. Yeah, who put a pin under your bed? Dark Mikey chuckled. You're gonna be queen of the world in just a few days, and you're still cranky. Now that's ironic. Who said I was cranky? Azula questioned. I don't get cranky. Then what do you call what you doing now? Dark Raph asked. You seem pretty sore for a soon-to-be queen. Probably because she's always cranky. Dark Mikey joked, but he didn't get a chance to laugh as blue fire was shot toward him, causing him to yelp. Knock it off. Dark Leo told Azula as he stood in front of her. Watch your tone. Azula scolded to him. I will soon lead this new world, show some respect. Not yet. Dark Leo said. Until the comet arrives, you're still just a princess, so maybe you should show some respect. He pointed at her chest as he looked at her in the eyes. Are you threatening me? Azula questioned in a warning tone. Maybe I am. What are you gonna do about it? Dark Leo challenged as the two looked at each other in the eye. After about a tense minute, Azula sighed before walking into her room and slamming the door shut. Like I said, cranky. Dark Mikey added once more. I can't believe we got stuck with that brat. Dark Raph grunted. We won't have to deal with her much longer. Dark Dawn said. Once the comet arrives, we'll just dump her like the rest of this useless world. Dark Leo gave an evil smirk. The Fire Nation Princess Azula. She will die as she lived, a self-righteous fool. Azula looked at herself in the mirror as she ruffled her hair. Just who do those wannabe turtles think they are? She questioned to herself. Did they realize to whom they speak? It doesn't hurt to receive criticism once in a while. A new voice spoke up. Azula looked past her own reflection as she saw the image of her mother Ursa in the mirror. What are you doing here? Azula questioned. I can't stand the sight of my own daughter in pain. Ursa said. Don't pretend like you care. Azula exclaimed. I know what you think of me, you think I'm a monster. I think you may be confused. Ursa told her. Maybe you should take a deep breath and think. What's there to think about? Azula questioned once more. I'm gonna be empress of this new world. Will you be? The image of Ursa wondered. Do you honestly believe you will, or is that simply what the Shredder told you? Why would he lie? Perhaps to control you. The Ursa image replied. You're afraid of him, I know it, I can see the fear in your eyes. He is using your fear of him to control you, like how you tried to control your friends Mai and Tai Li. Azula grimaced. Well, what choice did I have? So what if I'm afraid of him? She turned around, facing the opposite direction of the mirror. Trust is for fools. Fear is the only reliable way. Even you fear me. No. I love you, Azula. I do. Tears formed in the young girl's eyes as she angrily grabbed a brush from her drawer and threw it at the mirror, shattering it, along with the image of her mother. Azula then fell to her knees and began to cry. The sun had begun to rise at the campsite where the White Lotus, Guardians, and all our heroes had been staying. While everyone else had been getting some shut-eye, Zuko stayed in his uncle's tent. He didn't go to sleep as he just waited for his uncle to awaken. Iro then began to stir awake. He stretched his arms and gave a yawn. He glanced behind him to see his nephew was there before turning around with a neutral expression. There was a pained look on Zuko's face as he began to speak. Uncle, I know you must have mixed feelings about seeing me. His voice began to crack as tears formed in his eyes. But I want you to know, I am so sorry, Uncle. Zuko cried. I am so sorry and ashamed of what I did. I don't know how I can ever make it up to you. But Zuko didn't get a chance to finish as Iroh pulled his nephew into a hug as the elderly man both smiled and shed his own tears of joy. How can you forgive me so easily? The still teary Zuko questioned. I thought you would be furious with me. I was never angry with you, I was sad. Iroh said. Because I feared you lost your way. I did lose my way. Zuko replied. No, not on your own. Iroh held his nephew by the shoulders, as he looked him in the eyes. It wasn't your doing. Someone else forced you onto that path. But despite the threats and darkness that laid down that path, you resisted and have chosen a path of light. And I am so happy you followed that light here. Zuko rubbed his face. I didn't do it on my own though. I had some help. Just outside, Tai Li and Mai slept with their backs against a tent, while Karai sat right outside the entrance to the tent with a look of contemplation on her face. She heard the tent open. Karai. She turned to the sound of Zuko's voice and saw him, along with his uncle, walk out to greet her. Iro, Karai began to speak. I know this seems odd, but... Karai was cut off when Iro pulled her into a hug as well. Karai, I always knew there was something special about you. Iro told her as he pulled her out of the hug and looked at her with a smile. Thank you so much for taking such great care of my nephew. She gave her own smile. You're welcome, but honestly, it was your nephew who took more care of me than I did for him. Karai looked to Zuko with a smile who gave his own in return. Mysterious Island. It was fully morning as Master Splinter, Aang, and Momo slept in the hexagon-shaped hole. Splinter's acute senses picked up something as he felt something in the wind and heard some form of movement around the island. He woke up as he looked around and saw the clouds above moving. Momo had awoken from the same effect and looked at Splinter. Yes, I sense it as well. Splinter told the lemur before waking up Aang. Aang, wake up. He nudged Aang's shoulder a bit. Aang gave a yawn as he sat up. Morning, Master Splinter. He rubbed his eye. Look. Splinter pointed forward toward an opening in the trees. Aang saw what Splinter was pointing to and looked confused. Wait, is it just me, or are those mountains getting bigger? He wondered. It is not just you. Splinter answered. Although mountains do not grow on their own. Something else is amiss here. Aang and Splinter both looked toward each other as they went straight up. Aang used his airbending for a direct shot to the top of the tallest tree on the so-called island, while Master Splinter used his own agility to hop from branch to branch before they were BTOH perched on the top with Momo on Aang's shoulder. Aang looked behind and saw water moving behind the island and it dawned on them. They're not getting larger, they're getting closer. Aang exclaimed. This island is moving, Splinter stated as well as they jumped down and ran downhill. No, this is no island. You're right, so what is it? Aang questioned as they both made it to the edge of the moving island. Aang immediately dove into the water so he could get a view underneath it. Momo looked around and chirped for Aang to reappear as Splinter looked around as well for an explanation as to what was going on. Once Aang was underwater he swam down a bit, he saw the island was not attached to anything. But his eyes widened as he heard rumbling and saw a massive paw-like appendage brush past him, to show that the island was alive. He quickly shot himself up to the surface. "What is it?" Splinter asked as he saw Aang's head pop above the surface. "Master Splinter, Momo, it's amazing. This whole island is really the biggest animal in the world," Aang exclaimed. "I gotta swim around and find its face." Aang then quickly swam, using waterbending to propel him faster, along the side of this mysterious animal while Momo flew above him and Master Splinter hopped from branch to branch along the side to keep up with Aang. There was no doubt in Splinter's mind that they were meant to be here. Now they had to find out why. Campsite. Pretty much everyone had woken up in the massive campsite. Every member of the White Lotus, all the Guardians, as well as everyone from the invasion force from the Day of Black Sun, even the Kyoshi warriors were all present and talking while some had breakfast and at the same time, readying their weapons as this was the day that Sozin's comet would arrive. Just outside of Iroh's tent, the general himself was clad in the garb of the White Lotus as he, Zuko, Leo, Katara, Raph, Toph, Mikey, Sokka, Dawn, Kurai, Suki, Mai, April, Ty Lee, Casey, and Hakoda all sat in a circle as they each had their own breakfast with them. Sokka bore his Water Tribe warrior's armor. Both Iroh and Hakoda had been informed that Shredder was planning to use Sozin's comet to end all life on the planet and were now contemplating their next move. "Uncle, you're the only person in the world, other than the Avatar, who can possibly help us defeat the Shredder," Zuko told him. "He may be right, Iroh," Leo said. "Aang and Master Splinter are nowhere to be found. Even with the Sword of Tengu we need all the help we can get if we're gonna take Shredder down for good. So, will you help us?" Kurai asked. Iroh took all their words in and spoke. "No, Kurai. It won't turn out well." "What do you mean it won't?" Raph asked somewhat angrily. "Don't tell me you're getting cold feet." "No, it's not like that at all," Iroh replied calmly. "Then what is it?" Mikey questioned. "We've seen you in action, you're awesome. Not to mention you have a battle nexus win under your belt. Plus you are a firebender, along with Zuko." Dawn added. "Sozin's comet will enhance your abilities far greater than even Shredder can stand against. Not to mention we have the Sword of Tengu," Katara pointed out. "With all of us working together, we can stop Shredder." "You all have made valid points," Iroh admitted. "However, the battle nexus was a long time ago for me. I am not as young as I used to be, even Sozin's comet cannot make up for that. But even that isn't it." "So, what is it?" Casey asked. "Even if I could defeat the Shredder, and I am not certain that I can, it would be the wrong way to end the war," Iroh replied. "What do you mean by that?" April asked. "History will just see it as more senseless violence," Iroh answered. "The brother of a tyrant killing another tyrant to grab power. The only way for this war to end peacefully is for the Avatar and you four turtles together to defeat the Shredder." "Wait, are you sure?" Katara asked. "There's no other way. 'Cause I'm not sure if you noticed, but we've tried to kick Buckethead's bucket before," Raph pointed out. "Obviously it didn't work out. And the last time Twinkle Toes took on Shredder, he almost died," Toph pointed out. "There is a reason for this," Iroh began. "The Avatar alone could not defeat the Shredder, and the Turtles alone could not defeat him either. However, if you five were to work together to stop him, I am certain that you can defeat him. You may not even need that sword." The group looked toward each other, their faces showed mixtures of concern and a little bit of doubt. "What about us though?" Sokka asked. "What are we gonna do?" Hakoda placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "Sokka, I think you already know the answer to that." Sokka looked to his sister, who looked to Suki, who looked to Toph as well. Though Toph could not look, she could feel their patterns in their bodies and knew as she nodded as well. "Looks like we're gonna fight the Shredder as well," Katara said. "Personally, I'm looking forward to a little payback myself." Toph punched her left fist in her right palm. "That's the spirit, kid." Raph ruffled her hair. "So, after Shredder is defeated, then will you come and take your rightful place on the throne?" Zuko asked his uncle. "No," Iroh answered. "Someone new must take the throne. An idealist with a pure heart and unquestionable honor. It has to be you, Prince Zuko." None were more surprised than Zuko himself. Unquestionable honor. But I've made so many mistakes. Indeed you have, Karai said. You as well as I. I know that you have struggled a great deal, but I also know your uncle may be right. You not only restored your own honor, but you also helped me in restoring mine. And I believe it is you who can restore honor to the Fire Nation. Ty Lee smiled. I know you can do it, Zuko. You're too stubborn to fail. Well, she's not wrong. Mai added as she smiled at her boyfriend. And the rest of us have your back. Zuko took all their words in as he looked deep in thought. Okay then. Leo spoke up. So Zuko becomes the new Fire Lord when this is over, but right now we have to focus on stopping the Shredder. Leo stated. What if Aang and Master Splinter don't come back? Sokka asked. I doubt that's the case. Hakoda pointed out. Sozin's comet arrives tonight. I doubt Aang and Splinter are gonna abandon us. I agree with Hakoda. Aang and Master Splinter will both join you as you all face your destiny this day. Iro added. When I was a boy, I had a vision I would one day take Ba Sing Se. Only now do I see that my destiny is to liberate it from the foot so the Earth Kingdom can be free again. That's why you gathered the members of the White Lotus, broke out the invasion force and the Kyoshi warriors, and joined the Guardians. Suki pointed out. Yes, Iro confirmed. He looked once more to his nephew. Zuko, you must join the Avatar and the Turtles as well. You must help them defeat the Shredder so that you can assume the throne. However, Azula will be by his side, waiting for you. Don't worry, Zuko said. Karai and I can handle Azula, right? He looked toward his friend. Yes we can, Karai replied as she smiled. And personally, I am eager to finally put that girl in her place. Alright then, what's the plan? Sokka asked. We'll work with everyone here. Leo began. With a massive army like the Guardians, White Lotus, and all our allies together, Shredder is no doubt going to throw everything he has at that. But, the attack is just a distraction, with all the Foot and their Fire Nation forces focused solely on the attack. Zuko, myself, and everyone will sneak in from the rear of Shredder's fortress via an underground tunnel. Toph will make and take him out. We will wait for Aang and Master Splinter before we go in though. I know they will join us. Why would Toph make a tunnel though? Mikey asked. Wouldn't it be easier to fly on Appa? Not a good idea. Don said. Shredder's plan unfolds tonight so he probably has eyes everywhere, not to mention we're right at his doorstep right now. Exactly. Leo agreed. Appa will be too easy to spot, we can't afford to be seen till the fighting starts. I think he can do more if he helps out everyone else in the attack. Zuko looked toward two of his friends. Ty Lee, I think it's best you two help out my uncle in this fight. That caught both girls by surprise. April, Casey, you guys should probably stick with them too. Raph pointed out, much to their surprise as well. Wait, you don't want us to help you? Ty Lee asked. Yeah, we're coming with you. Casey pointed out. No you're not, Leo said. You guys are good, but we need not only our best fighters for when we fight Shredder, we also need to keep our group as small as possible. Between me and my brothers, Team Avatar, Karai, and Aang and Splinter for when they show up, that'll be 12 people in total. That's quite a big group already, we can't afford any more. You all know he is right. Karai was in agreement. Mai looked toward Ty Lee as April did to Casey. They came to a silent agreement to stay with the attack force. Katara looked toward Hakoda with a bit of worry. Dad, are you sure you want to do this? This won't be like the day of Black Sun. Sozin's comet will make the firebenders unbelievably strong. And the Foot have all sorts of high-tech stuff at their disposal. Sokka pointed out. Not to mention that flying death machine, the Foot carrier. We'll manage, Hakoda told them. But it's important that your team takes down Shredder before he launches Project Meteoroid, otherwise, we're all doomed. Everyone was silent for about a minute before Leo broke it. It won't be pretty. This will be the most difficult battle any of us have ever thought. But the fate of not just this world, every world, is depending on us. Losing is not an option. No, it isn't. Zuko agreed as everyone nodded in determination. After everyone finished their breakfast they got ready. Leo, Raph, Don, Mikey, Zuko, Toph, Katara, Sokka, Karai, and Suki gathered together in a circle as Toph made an earthbending stance and created a large circular hole for them to jump into. Okay, it's all ready. Toph said. I'll take us directly under Boss Sing Se into the back of the outer ring. Once the fighting starts and we see Aang and Splinter, I'll lead us directly under Shredder's house where we'll start knocking some heads." The group turned around to the group consisted of Iro, Hakoda, April, Casey, Mai, Tai Li, Piando, Paku, Bumi, Jung Jung, the Guardian Leader, Usagi, Traximus, Leatherhead, and Professor Honeycutt, along with Appa behind them. "You guys take care," Raph told the group. "And you as well." The Guardian nodded as he bowed, whom everyone else did in response. "Kurai." He looked toward the former Foot Kunoichi. "I am glad that you have chosen a path of light. As of this day, you can consider the Guardians your allies." Kurai smiled as she gave a grateful bow. "Thank you, Guardian." She was quickly embraced in a hug by Tai Li, which Kurai returned. "You come back, okay Kurai?" She looked to her friend. "You promise you'll come back?" Kurai smiled to her. "I promise, my friend. I will return." Tai Li smiled as she walked back. Mai walked toward Zuko. "So, this is it, huh? Looks like it," Zuko replied as he rubbed the back of his neck. He was cut off as the girl pulled him in for a passionate kiss on the lips. He was surprised at first but returned the kiss. After a few seconds they pulled apart. "If you die, I'll kill you," Mai warned. Zuko smiled as he let go of Mai's hand and she joined the others. "Good luck, my friends," Leatherhead said to all four turtles as Usagi bowed alongside him. Even Professor Honeycutt bowed as well. All four turtles bowed in return. Katara and Sokka shared one last hug with their father before joining the others as April hugged Leo, Mikey, Raph, and Don in that order while Casey fist bumped each of them when she was done hugging them. "So long guys," April told them. "Have fun storming the castle," Casey joked to them. The group of 10 youngsters approached the hole before Zuko looked toward his uncle. "So if I'm going to be Fire Lord when the war is over, what are you gonna do?" Iro smiled. "After I reconquer Boss Sing Se, I'm going to reconquer my tea shop." He smiled as he flipped a Pai Sho tile. "And I'm going to play Pai Sho every day." The groups looked toward each other one last time before Leonardo spoke the last words. "Goodbye General Iro." "Goodbye everyone," Iro replied. "Today, destiny is our friend. I know it." With that, Leo, Kurai, Zuko, Katara, Raph, Mikey, Toph, Sokka, Don, and Suki all jumped down the hole, which Toph quickly closed with her earthbending. The island, revealed to be a large animal, had swam almost to the shores of the Earth Kingdom, which coincidentally wasn't too far from Ba Sing Se. While Splinter had quickly arrived to the front of the creature on the surface with Momo flying near him, Aang had already swam to the other side and dove straight underwater. Master Splinter wasted no time in diving after him. The two swam down for quite a bit before they came to a massive face. One eye opened up to spot the two. The creature then lifted one of its massive paws up from the surface. It was so large and moved so fast that neither Aang nor Splinter could move as they were quickly forced up onto the surface on the paw of the large creature as it showed its face. Master Splinter's mouth opened as he let out an audible, "Ah," in surprise. This creature had the face of a lion with two fangs curved upward. I never, what creature is this?" "A lion turtle," Aang breathed in answering Splinter. "This is an ancient and wise creature. I thought they were all extinct." "It would seem not," Splinter breathed, still quite surprised. Aang was the first to get over this surprise as he made a respectful bow to the lion turtle. Splinter recovered from his surprise. "It was you. It was you who called us to you, wasn't it?" "Yes, I did," the lion turtle confirmed. Splinter wasn't surprised that it spoke. At this point nothing else could surprise him. "Maybe you can help me." Aang began to speak to the lion turtle who listened. "Everybody, even my own past lives, are expecting me to end someone's life. But I don't know if I can do it. And I'm not too comfortable with letting others do it for me either." He looked toward the mutant rodent. "I'm sorry, Master Splinter." The humanoid rat nodded in understanding. The true mind can weather all the lies and illusions without being lost. The true heart can tough the poison of hatred without being harmed. The lion turtle began to lift its other massive paw slowly toward Aang. Since beginningless time, darkness thrives in the void, but always leads to purify light. The lion turtle touched its fingers toward Aang's forehead and heart where a green glow was seen on both. After a brief flash, the lion turtle dropped both Aang and Master Splinter off on the shore of the Earth Kingdom with Momo flying onto Aang's shoulder. Go to him. The lion turtle spoke to Aang and Splinter. He is waiting for you. Both Master Splinter and Aang bowed to the lion turtle as it sank back into the water and swam away from the shore. Master Splinter looked in the distance past the mountains. I do not believe we are far from Ba Sing Se. Splinter spoke as he looked to the young avatar. Are you prepared for the battle to come? Aang gave a deep breath. I'm ready. The only issue is, how do we get there? We can't make it to Ba Sing Se on foot. We may not have to. Splinter pointed to a few feet away and they saw a giant lizard-like creature. It's an eel hound, Aang said as he walked close it. I used to ride these things all the time when I was a kid. There is no creature alive in my world that can run faster. I bet he can help us get to Ba Sing Se. The eel hound turned toward its side and motioned for Aang and Splinter to get on. It was as if the creature was there for the purpose of helping them. They both hopped on and the eel hound wasted no time in running at top speed toward Ba Sing Se. The image of Avatar Aang and Master Splinter could be seen in the pool within the shrine of the Foot Mystics as all 5 elemental warriors watched. The time approaches, my brothers. The fire mystic spoke. Everything now falls into place. Yes, the water mystic said in agreement. The Utram Shredder's plan for this world is underway. And the Avatar as well as the turtles and their allies approach as well. The wind mystic spoke as well. All forces now collide in battle that will decide the fate of this world. The earth mystic said, but the outcome will not matter. Indeed, the metal mystic agreed. Once the Avatar arrives, we will finally achieve our goal and he will be the one who sets us free. Night had now fallen over the Foot-occupied Earth Kingdom capital. The Shredder, clad completely in his silver armor, stood at the top of his citadel. Hun and Azula were on his right along with the 4-foot elite ninjas, while Stockman, Hama, and the Dark Turtles were at his left as Shredder looked up at the night sky. The final sun has set on this world. Shredder spoke. The phoenix rises from the ashes of the old to clear away the path to my new glorious empire. Sozin's comet had now arrived. It had entered the Earth's atmosphere and began its orbit around the planet. Fire soared around the comet as the night sky began to glow a bright red. Shredder and his lackeys looked out from the top of the fortress as the sky changed. Avatar Aang and Master Splinter, along with Momo, rode the eel hound past the mountain with the city of Ba Sing Se right in their sights. The final battle was about to begin. Chapter 33, Sozin's Comet, Exodus. Sozin's comet had arrived. As it passed through the atmosphere, the entire sky had turned red, almost as if the sky itself had been stained with blood. The comet could be seen almost like a streak of fire in the sky as it began its orbit. On a small cliffside, facing the southmost end of the outer wall to Ba Sing Se stood a group of individuals who would try their absolute best to save this world. Leonardo, Katara, Zuko, Raphael, Toph, Donatello, Sokka, Michelangelo, Suki, and Karai. Looks like the comet's here. Leo observed as they saw the streak in the sky. Which means it's almost time. Zuko stated. Suki looked at the comet a bit. You know, it actually looks kind of beautiful. Yeah, it does look kinda cool, doesn't it? Mikey observed as well. Too bad the Shredder's gonna use to destroy the world. Toph said in a grim tone. Zuko looked a bit down to the ground, something the waterbender of the group noticed. Zuko, don't worry, we can take Shredder. Katara told him. Yeah, with all of us, and the Sword of Tengu, he won't stand a chance. Raph agreed. It's not him I'm worried about. Zuko said. Sozin's comet is here and we're missing 2 key players. Don't worry, they'll be here. Katara replied. They have too. Well, they better be here soon. Sokka stated before turning to the former Foot Kunoichi. Karai, how much time till Shredder's ship takes off? I'd say roughly 3 hours. Karai answered grimly. That's not long. Don said in a side tone of voice. Drive Chaplin said he would do all he can to slow it down, but we will need to hurry. Karai's right. Leo said. As soon as the fighting starts, Toph will dig a tunnel and we'll go right into the heart of Shredder's stronghold. Everyone nodded. However, Toph's eyes widened as her seismic sense picked up something. Hey guys, something's coming this way. And it's moving fast. She pointed in the direction she felt the presence. The rest of the group looked and saw something heading their way at a fast rate. What is it? Suki asked. Whatever it is, we don't have time. Raph exclaimed. Dawn got a good look once it got closer. It looks like some kind of eel-raptor hybrid. And I think someone's riding on it. As the creature moved closer, everyone else got a good view of two individuals riding on it. They each saw and each bore their own smile as they recognized them instantly. It's Aang, Katara said joyously. And Master Splinter, Mikey exclaimed elatedly as well. It was true, the Avatar and mutant rodent ninjutsu master, both riding an eel hound, had arrived on the scene. Momo was also flying above them as the eel hound quickly slid to a stop right in front of the group as Aang and Splinter got off. Hey everyone, Aang greeted with a smile as the whole group surrounded the two. Yes, it is good to see you too. Master Splinter responded to many of the warm welcome greetings the group got. I'm so glad you're okay, Aang, Katara said as she pulled him into a hug. Thanks, Katara. Not to sound ungrateful, but where the shell have you two been? Raph questioned. Yeah, you guys just vanished on us. Do you have any idea how worried we've been about you? Toph questioned as well. Where the heck were you? Sokka also questioned. Aang had a remorseful look. Guys, I'm sorry I just took off like that. But honestly, I'm not sure what happened. This seemed to confuse the group quite a bit. What do you mean you're not sure? Dawn asked. It is a long and strange tale. Splinter told the group. However, we do not have the time to go into the specifics at the moment. He looked into the sky. Sozin's comet has arrived, which means the Shredder's plan is now underway. Yes, you are correct. Karai confirmed. Leo and Katara both looked toward Aang. Hey Aang, have you figured out what to do? Leo asked. Katara also spoke. Last time we talked, you were upset about. Aang sighed. I know, but I know what to do now. And I'm to face to the Shredder. This earned smiles amongst the group. Now that's what I like to hear, twinkle toes. So, what are we waiting for? Aang asked. Let's go. Not yet. Zuko stopped Aang before he could take off. On our way here, we ran into some old friends, my uncle included. He smirked. And they're gonna cause a bit of a racket for Shredder. Aang looked a bit confused, but Splinter was able to understand. I see. A distraction then. Yep. Leo confirmed. We're just waiting for the fight to start. Which should be any minute. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, several hundred yards right at the main gate of Ba Sing Se stood what appeared to be small army. A large alliance of members of the Order of the White Lotus, the Guardians of the Utroms, the Kyoshi warriors, along with all the warriors, mutants, waterbenders, and earthbenders from the invasion force all stood outside the gate as they glared onward. At the front of the helm were Iro, Bumi, Usagi, Jung, Piendo, Paku, and the leader of the Guardians. Ba Sing Se, the Order of the White Lotus, the Guardians, and many others are here. Bumi said. We are all here to set you free. Usagi added. Allies from across multiple worlds have joined together to liberate you in this world from the tyranny of the Shredder. The leader of the Guardians added as well. Iro as at the very front. Only once every 100 years can a firebender experience this kind of power. The Dragon of the West inhaled deeply as he could feel the power of Sozin's comet enhance his own abilities. As he inhaled, a ring of fire formed around him and the rock platform he and his allies stood on. This repeated a couple of times before Iro let off a large roar, thrusting his hands forward. This resulted in a massive fireball, 5 times the size of his usual attack, being created instantly, which he launched directly at the gates of the occupied city. As soon as the fireball hit the gate, it in a large portion the wall all blew up in a gargantuan explosion. Bumi gave a maniacal grin as he used his mastery earthbending to create a series of platforms to propel the entire alliance directly toward the opening Iro had created. A series of fireballs were shot toward them, but Iro deflected them away with little difficulty. Once they were close enough, Appa flew directly above what was left of the gate and down toward the city, where he whipped his tail to create a powerful gust of wind to blow back several Fire Nation tanks. As soon as Appa landed, multiple Fire Nation soldiers and foot ninja quickly surrounded him. Goongala! Casey shouted as he leapt off of Appa along with April, Mai, and Ty Lee. Casey had a hockey stick on hand, which he used to smack down 4 enemies as he landed. April was next with her katana as she clashed with a couple of foot soldiers. Ty Lee landed in the middle of a squad of firebenders along with Mai back to back. Tai Li used punches and kicks to block the Kai of all the enemy on her side while Mai threw several knives with pinpoint accuracy to pin them all to a nearby wall. Right as that squad was taken care of, Haku was on top of a piece of rubble from the opening as he bent a huge portion of water behind him and sent it down directly at a large squad of firebenders, extinguishing their attacks, which he froze quickly to immobilize them. As it froze, both Usagi and Piendo slid down on the ice with their swords to clash with a series of foot ninja. A line of firebending tanks was about to open fire from down a street, but a massive wall of fire, erected by Jung Jung as he hovered in the air with flames on his feet, blocked the attack. He would block all attacks from the tanks as the rest of the alliance quickly poured in. Several foot soldiers ran across the rooftops and toward the opening, but when they got there, at least 7 guardian ninjas fell to the ground and landed dramatically as they reached into their each of trenchcoats and pulled out their high-tech katana blades, which hummed to life. The guardians led the attack as the rest of the alliance poured in. Hakoda led the large group consisting of not just Water Tribe warriors, Earthbenders, Kyoshi warriors, Swambenders, White Lotus and even Guardian members, but also Leatherhead, Gen, Haru, Tyro, the Boulder, the Hippo, Traximus, Professor Honeycutt, Bato, even the Freedom Fighters formerly led by the late Jet. Go! Attack! Hakoda yelled as everyone poured in, thus beginning the liberation of Ba Sing Se. Explosions could be seen from the sky where the foot carrier was stationed. The elite ninja were at the command to make sure everything went on scheduled for Project Meteoroid. So far, it hadn't. They, as well as everyone in the command center, looked in shock as they could see from their screens the war that was taking place down below them. Contact the master immediately, one elite exclaimed to a foot technician. Foot Central Command. Within the main lab that was adjacent to the ship that was ready for launch, the Shredder was present, along with Hun, Azula, Hama, Stockman, and the Dark Turtles, all of which were making final preparations. There was an alert on a console, which Stockman was quick to respond. Master. What is it? Shredder questioned. We are receiving a transmission. Stockman said, gaining everyone's attention as Shredder walked to the console and opened the line. Master Shredder. One elite ninja was reporting. Ba Sing Se is under siege. What? Shredder questioned. Everyone else looked on as the elite continued to report. Multiple rebel forces have invaded the city, but that isn't the worst of it. It's the Guardians. They are in the city. The Guardians, Shredder exclaimed. Here, how could they have found us so soon? They are quickly fighting through the city and will be within range soon. Do whatever it takes to slow them down. Shredder ordered. Destroy the entire city if you have to. They must not enter the fortress. Shredder cut off transmission before he sliced the console to pieces in frustration. This changes everything. Master, shouldn't we be out there? Hun asked. No, Shredder replied. If Ba Sing Se is under attack now, then the turtles and the Avatar cannot be far behind. Ready the ship and prepare for battle. The ship must be ready to launch before Sozin's comet passes. Yes, Master Shredder. Azula, Hama, Hun, Stockman, and the Dark Turtles all bowed at the same time as they made preparations while Shredder gave a frustrated grunt. He was so close, and he will not have his plans ruined by mutants and children. Back on the outskirts, the Turtles, Team Avatar, along with Splinter and Karai could hear the fighting. There's our distraction. Toph, we need that tunnel. Leo ordered. You got it. Toph quickly made a large hole. Everyone in the hole, I'll lead the way. Everyone nodded as they all jumped down into the hole and ran. Zuko and Aang used firebending to create light for the group as Toph led them under the city and directly toward the Foot Citadel. The group ran for a couple of minutes before they stopped at a large metal wall. Looks like this is it. Dawn guessed. Toph felt her hand on the wall. Yeah, this is it all right. I can feel quite a few foot guys on the other side. Then we must be prepared for anything. We are entering the lion's den. Master Splinter stated as everyone unsheathed their respective weapons or took bending stances. Is everyone ready? Leo asked. Everyone nodded. Let's do it, Aang said with determination. Toph got to work with her metal bending as she punched a hole into the wall and began to pry it apart, creating an opening where the entire group ran in and came face to face with a couple dozen foot ninjas. Now that's a lot of ninjas. Sokka noted. Yeah, they should have brought a whole lot more. Raph cracked. There was a bit of a stare down between the two sides. So, are we doing this with banter, or without? Mikey joked. The foot soldiers each yelled as they charged forward at their enemy. Definitely without. With that, the heroes clashed against the enemy. Leo was the first as he clashed his katanas against the swords of several foot ninja, but Leo was much too quick for them as he not only blocked all their attacks, but also took them down with only a few slashes and kicks. Aang sent an air gust forward with his right hand to block back 3 incoming ninja before he ducked under a slice from a ninja attempting to kill him from behind. He leapt over that ninja and used airbending to propel him forward into another group of enemy ninja. Raph blocked one staff with his sai before he pulled the ninja down and threw him back at 3 more incoming ninja, knocking them out as he got up with his sai and went on the offensive as usual at any poor fool unfortunate enough to try and face him. Katara bent the water from her satchels around her arms as she snapped and whipped at 2 enemy ninja, sending them flying back. She froze her right tentacle to block shurikens heading her direction before she used her left tentacle to ensnare the ninja, pull him close into a kick to the face to knock him out before flinging him back at 2 more coming from behind. Gon thrusted his staff forward into the gut of 1 foot soldier before thrusting it back at an enemy from behind. He used his staff to block an attack from a 3rd ninja before snapping the sword out of his hands and knock him down with a staff strike. Toph was surrounded by at least 6 foot ninjas, they slowly paced toward her with weapons at the ready. The Earthbender simply smirked as she made the first move. She jumped upward and landed hard to create a circular earth wave to knock back several ninja. 5 more came in from the ceiling to cut her down with their swords, but as Toph heard their yells, she thrusted her hands up and clenched her fists, using metal bending to bend their swords into restraints around their hands. The surprise caught them off guard as they hit the ground hard without landing properly. Mikey had his tongue out as he twirled his nunchucks to bat away foot ninja who threw kunai chains at him. He sped forward with his nunchucks at high speed to bash down the foot soldiers in front of him. They were all down in less than 5 seconds. Yeah, still got it. Mikey cheered. Sokka and Suki were back to back as 5 ninjas surrounded them and charged. Sokka blocked a sword strike from one with his sword as Suki grabbed one coming for her by the shirt and flipping him over into the one in front of Sokka, while swiping the ninja's katana and using it as her own to block a 3rd ninja as Sokka rolled down and blocked a staff rom the 4th ninja before head-butting him down and throw his boomerang into the air right as Suki kicked the ninja she was fighting. The 5th and final ninja was about to charge at both of them, but he never got the chance as the boomerang came back and clonked him in the head, knocking him out, before Sokka caught it. "Huh, I knew boomerang would always come back to me," Sokka said enthusiastically while Suki gave a humorous smile. Karai quickly used her katanas to cut down the weapons of any foot ninjas that were in her path. She moved with such grace and speed that the enemy didn't even have a chance to respond as she disarmed them quickly before going further on the offensive with her feet in a series of kicks to send them flying. Master Splinter simply stood as 6-foot ninjas surrounded him. He looked with a glare briefly before flashing a series of punches and kicks. In less than a second, all 6-foot ninja fell to the ground in unconsciousness. Zuko was in a similar scenario as at least 10-foot ninja cautiously approached him. He breathed and exhaled deeply. "You should be running," Zuko warned them. However, the ninja did not heed his advice as they yelled and charged forward. The Fire Prince, with his enhanced firebending, shot one fire fist forward to create a massive stream of fire to blow back all the enemy ninja charging at him. The blast was enough to catch all his friends' attention as they looked with surprise at the sudden increase in Zuko's firebending. All his enemies were taken down in one shot. "Dude," Mikey breathed. "You said it." Toph agreed. "That was a lot fire. You weren't kidding about Sozin's comet," Don said to Team Avatar. "Yeah, I'm more than a bit surprised too," Sokka stated. "Hey guys, aren't we still on the clock?" Suki reminded. "Of course, you are right." Master Splinter agreed. "We must find the shredder now." There was a beeping noise coming from a communicator within Karai's belt that caught everyone's attention. She reached in and placed it on her ear. "Karai, you there?" She was surprised as she recognized the voice. "Drive Chaplain. Is that you?" "Yeah, it's me," Chaplain responded. "I got an alert saying there was a perimeter breach within the fortress. I'm guessing that was you and your friends." "Yes, but where are you?" Karai asked. "Don't worry about me. I've managed to barricade myself in my lab and secure communications. I can help guide you to Shredder, but that's all I can do." I'm sorry. No, it's alright. I'm at least glad you're alright. Karai responded. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Zuko gave Karai a bit of a sly grin, resulting in some chuckles amongst everyone else while Karai just ignored it. Can you find us a direct path to the shredder? Karai asked Chaplin. Already on it, Chaplin responded. There should be a doorway on the southeast side of the room you're in. It'll lead directly to the main controls where the ship is. Very well. Karai turned to everyone. Let's move. Yeah, let's go. Leo agreed as everyone else nodded. Karai led them through what was left of the large chamber they were fighting in and toward a doorway. Toph was quick to use her metal bending to break down the door and everyone ran into the long hallway. Outside, the entire city of Ba Sing Se had turned into a war zone as the alliance of the Guardians, White Lotus, and their other allies waged a tremendous battle against the Foot and Fire Nation soldiers. Even with Sozin's comet enhancing the Firebender's powers, it would seem both sides were evenly matched. Fire Nation tanks opened fire down one street toward a group of rebel earthbenders led by Boomy, but they quickly erected large rock barriers to block the attack. Boomy then thrusted his fists into the ground to send the tanks each flying straight up via an earth pillar from the ground. They would each land some yards away, stacking on top of each other. Multiple foot ninja ran across the rooftops as a series of guardians led by Usagi and Jen ran toward them as well. They all jumped upwards from the rooftops and clashed mid-air with each other, slashing their swords at each other. Several Kyoshi warriors along with Piendo also led a sword clash against a squad of foot ninja in the streets. Even the freedom fighters Smellerby, Pipsqueak, the Duke, and Longshot were seen fighting alongside them. Several firebenders lined up to shoot massive streams of fire down one street toward a group of fighters led by Leatherhead, Haru, and Traximus, but Jung Jung arrived to create a shield of fire to protect his allies from the blast. He threw down the shield and let his friends quickly get to work on taking down the enemy in front of them. Paku led a group of swambenders as they collected all the water from the sewers of the street they were on and sent it in the form of a massive tidal wave to wash away multiple enemy soldiers. Paku smiled, but his smile soon vanished when he heard loud noises coming from behind. They sounded like large footsteps. Everyone turned around to see at least 5 large foot mech suits. Run! Run! Paku exclaimed to his comrades as they made a break for it to avoid the missiles and gunfire shot their way by the foot mech suits. It was not just the foot mech suits but a few foot helicopters and even a few foot razor jets that flew at intense speeds opening fire down below with lasers and missiles. The attack forced many of the rebels to run and find ways of taking cover within either sturdy buildings or earth barriers that earthbenders would erect. All of that would quickly prove to be the least of their worries as the foot carrier hovered over the city and opened fire with lasers and missiles, causing large explosions over the area of which it hovered. Appa quickly flew underneath a massive rock dome that sealed up a large portion of the rebels that were in the open. Among them were Iro, Mai, April, Casey, Hakoda, and Professor Honeycutt. This isn't going very well. Mai noted. Gee, you think? Casey said sarcastically. This is completely insane. How are we gonna get out of this one? Ty Lee cried. As long as that giant fling fortress is still flying, we can't win. April said, referring to the foot carrier. So we gotta bring it down. Hakoda stated. How are we gonna do that? Mai questioned. That thing is huge. I don't know. Hakoda said truthfully. Iro, can't you and Jung Jung bring it down? I do not think so. Iro replied. Even with Sozin's comet enhancing our firebending, it's too high up for us to hit. So we use the fur ball here and fly you up there. Casey pointed to Appa who groaned in response. Even if we were to get up there, I don't know how we can bring it down. April said. Its outer defenses may shoot us down before we do any damage. Perhaps I can help. Professor Honeycutt spoke up, getting everyone's attention. If you can get me onto that awful flying monstrosity, I may be able to hack into its systems and gain control over it. That caught everyone by surprise. You can control that thing? Mike questioned. I believe so. Honeycutt replied. It was made from an amalgam of Utrom, Triceraton, and Federation technology, and I am knowledgeable with all of them. I will just need to make physical contact with its central controls. Okay, so we got a plan then. Hakoda spoke up. April, Casey, and you two girls, he began, referring to Mai and Ty Lee as well. We'll take Appa and fly Honeycut right up there where he can do his thing. And while you are up there, I will lead all our forces down here and hold out as long as we can. Iro added. Everyone nodded. Okay, you guys be careful. April told them as she got on Appa's reins while Hakoda, Honeycut, Mai, Casey, and Ty Lee boarded the saddle. Appa roared as he burst from the rock dome straight upward toward the massive foot carrier while Iro looked directly at the incoming squad of foot mech suits. Iro glared as he shot a massive fire stream directly at the enemy. Inside, Karai led the Turtles, Splinter, and Team Avatar down the long hallway with Chaplin providing directions. I've done all I can to hack and slow down the launch, but the ship works on its own internal network. I can't stop it from launching. Chaplin informed. It's all right, Chaplin, we can handle the rest. Karai assured. How much farther up? Don asked. We shouldn't be too far. Karai replied as the group continued to run, but came to a stop as they saw the hall was divided into two pathways up ahead. Okay, now which way? Sokka wondered. Drive, Chaplin. Karai asked on her comm. The schematics show the path on the right leads directly to the laboratory, where the ship will be beyond it. We go right. Karai told the group. But what's on the left path? Katara asked. No time to think, we have to go. Raph said. Before they could go, however, Aang found himself staring down the left path for some reason. Something the group noticed. Aang, Leo asked. Guys, this is gonna sound weird, but I feel some kind of energy coming down this way. This only seemed to earn confusion, save for Master Splinter, who spoke next. Yes, I sense it as well. I can sense a mystical force in that direction. Toph. Raph asked her, given she could likely feel what was beyond there. However, Toph's expression was of utter confusion. This is gonna sound weird, even for me, but I don't feel anything. What? Sokka questioned as the entire group looked completely shocked. What do you mean you don't feel anything? Zuko questioned. Yeah, your seismic sense has never missed something. Mikey pointed out. I'm only telling you what I'm feeling with my own 2 feet, and it just feels like a void down there. Toph stated. Drive, Chaplin, what is down this path? Karai asked on the comms. The schematics don't show anything really. It's just blank. Well, this is certain weird. Suki said. So which way should we go? I say we go down the right path like Chaplin suggested. Don said. Yeah, that's a good idea. Zuko agreed. We have no idea what's down there. Before the group could go down the rightmost path, Aang spoke up. Everyone wait. I think I should go down the left path. This caused the group to look in surprise. What? Aang, we don't have time to go exploring. Raph exclaimed. For once I have to agree with Raph, Aang. Katara added. We have no idea what's down there and we're on a time limit. I know. Aang replied. But I can just feel a strong mystic force in that direction. What if it's some kind of weapon Shredder has for backup if Project Meteoroid fails? This caused Sokka to think. You know, he does have a point. Everyone looked toward him. Think about it, Shredder is far from predictable, who's to say he doesn't have some kind of backup plan? Even if you're right, we can't afford to look right now. Zuko pointed out. Project Meteoroid is still the immediate threat and we have to take it down. Zuko's right. Don agreed. We can stop Project Meteoroid now and come back later. Then it might be too late. Aang argued. Aang, I understand you want to be cautious. Leo began. But we need to. Before he could finish, Master Splinter raised his hand. Perhaps we should separate. This caused everyone to look confused. Split up? Raph questioned. I don't think that's a good idea, Sensei. Leo told him. Shouldn't we stick together? Katara wondered. We do not know if Shredder has some sort of weapon in place should his initial plan fail. Splinter began. And we do have great numbers on our side. Aang, you take Karai and your friends down that path. Find whatever is the source of that energy and meet us later. My sons, you and I will go through the lab. Are you sure that's such a good idea, Master Splinter? Suki asked. We have little time to argue, so if we want to be quick and thorough, we will need to take such a path. Master Splinter confirmed. Everyone looked toward each other, looking a bit unsure. Aang looked towards Leo, no need for word exchange as the two came to a silent agreement. All right, Leo said. Raph, Don, and Mikey with me and Master Splinter. Katara, Zuko, Toph, Suki, Sokka, and Karai with Aang. We'll meet up later. If we encounter any resistance we'll need to deal with it quickly. Got it. Everyone else replied. With that, the group split up. The Turtles and Master Splinter ran down the right hallway while Karai and Team Avatar ran down the left path. The doorway opened as the Turtles and their rat father entered a large laboratory with computer consoles everywhere. But what really caught everyone's attention was at the center, 3 glass tanks filled green liquid and silhouettes of creatures inside them. Instantly they all had shivers down their spines. Don, please tell me this isn't what I think it is. Mikey hoped in a frightened tone. It's exactly what you think it is, Mikey. Don responded in an equally frightened tone. A foot genetics lab. Raph gave an annoyed groan as he slapped his face. Come on, not another one. No sooner did he say that alarms sounded all over the lab as the mutants prepared themselves for battle by drawing their weapons. The tanks began to open like pods as the green liquid poured out and into the drains below, revealing the mutated creatures that dwelled in them. The first was a blue amphibian serpent-like mutant with no arms and amphibious skin. It had a head identical to that of serpent with fins on the sides and red slit eyes as it hissed. It had no arms on it whatsoever. The second was a thin humanoid-like creature with no eyes and light brown skin. It crawled on all fours and was so thin it was almost skin and bone. The mouth was fanged as it gave a light roar. The final one resembled that of a red humanoid dragon that stood on its hind legs with razor-sharp claws on its hands. It had a reptilian face with green slit eyes and a long parasitic tongue. Its roar was much deeper. While Leo, Splinter, Don, and Raph prepared for the worst, Mikey was looking a bit more relaxed as he saw these mutants. That's it? Mikey questioned as he laughed. That's the best Shredder can throw at us. He laughed. Come on, these guys got nothing on Quarry and the others. He continued to laugh. Almost in direct response to that statement the creatures began to display additional features. The blue amphibian serpent had water pouring out of its gills, which fell down its side and quickly sprout a multitude of long water tentacles. The brown humanoid brought its arms together over its chest as it stood up and rocks from the ground molded all over to create a large rock-like body that covered all but the mutant's face. The dragon mutant had wings of flame burst out of its chest as it shot fire from its mouth. This caused Splinter and the Turtles to look in shock. Raph soon scowled to his youngest brother. Way to run your mouth off, Mikey. Benders, Leo breathed as he looked in shock. They're mutated benders. Well, Karai did say that Shredder was experimenting with bending. Don pointed out. How is that less horrifying? Mikey wondered. It's not, I just like to be accurate. Don replied. Lucky us. Raph groaned. Splinter's ears picked something up. My sons, wait, something else is approaching us. The Turtles gathered closer together with their father as the bending mutants slowly approached them. Something else? Raph questioned. We got a bunch of bending monsters ready to eat us. What could possibly come our way next? Right when he said that, a door opened behind them as a silhouette of a humanoid slowly walked out of the shadows. If their eyes weren't wide with horror before, they would be now. It was not a mutant but rather a cyborg. Its body was that of a man with a mix of flesh and robotics as half its chest appeared to be made out of metal with a metal spine protruding out of its back. Its right arm was entirely robotic as were both its legs. But what was unsettling was its face, with long black hair. Half of the skin on its face appeared peeled off to reveal a cybernetic skeleton with a red eye. But it was the side of the face with the flesh that caused everyone to gasp as they recognized it immediately. Ozai! Leo exclaimed. It was true, the recently deceased Fire Lord Ozai stood in front of them, his entire body converted into that of a cyborg as his red robotic eye lit up. But I thought Ozai was dead. Raph exclaimed. I think he still is. Don whimpered. What sort of abomination is this? Splinter questioned. My best guess. The foot must have reanimated his corpse as a cyborg that they can remote control. Don guessed. Okay, Mikey breathed. Now I'm officially freaked out. All 5 heroic mutants circled up as the cyborg Ozai and bending mutants slowly approached them with deadly intent. Karai and Team Avatar walked down the hall and came toward a large double door with the insignia of the foot on it. Aang stopped in front of it. Whatever the source of the energy is, it's behind this door. Toph, are you sure you cannot feel anything beyond it? Karai asked the young earthbender. I know it's weird but it feels like an empty void. Toph responded. I still think we should turn back. Katara pointed out. Yeah, I agree that's probably a better option. Zuko agreed. Guys, we've come this way, we should at least see what's behind it. Sokka told them. We're not on the clock for exploring, Sokka. Suki told him. Hey Karai, do you know what this is? No. Karai answered honestly. I never set foot in this place. During my time in this world, I spent a majority of it in the Fire Nation capital before Zuko and I left to join you. Hey, are we gonna talk all day or open this damn thing? Toph questioned. I still don't like this. Katara said. Aang looked toward the door. I have to know. Let's go. He opened the door and everyone stepped in. The place they stepped in had an eerie feeling to it as this was the mystical shrine where 5 certain individuals dwelled in. Team Avatar looked around with their own expressions of awe and surprise. Oh wow. Katara breathed. Look at this place. Yeah. Aang looked around. The energy I felt, this is definitely the source. Got that right, Twinkle Toes. Toph agreed. I can tell because this place is seriously messing with my feet. The ground here feels different. Zuko breathed in the air. The air feels different too. You're right, Zuko. Suki felt it. It feels both thin and thick. Sokka's expression was one of complete and utter stupefaction. Okay, what kind of place is this? Seriously, there has got to be some kind of scientific explanation for something like this. But what is it? Not science, Sokka. Karai said as she recognized this place. This is a place of dark and ancient magic. Zuko saw the expression on Karai's face, an expression of fear. This surprised Zuko, as he had never seen Karai openly afraid before. Karai. We must leave, now. What, Karai? Katara questioned. No time, we must go. Right as she said that, however, the door suddenly slammed shut on its own. What the? Toph questioned as Sokka ran to the door and tried to pry it open along with Suki. It's locked up, Sokka exclaimed. Karai, where are we? Aang asked the Kunoichi. A place we should never have gone. Karai told him as everyone listened. We must find a way out now. This is a trap. Indeed it is. A new voice spoke up. Everyone looked toward the sound of 5 individuals laughing. It came from the altar that was built into the monastery. Upon the staircase where 5 pedestals stood, 5 figures began to form. In the middle a stream of liquid metal formed to create the mystic metal ninja. On the upper left rose a mound of dirt and mud, forming the mystic earth ninja. On the upper right shot a stream of fire which cleared to reveal the mystic fire ninja. On the lower left, a small twister formed to reveal the mystic wind ninja. And finally on the lower right a sphere of water rose and took the form of the mystic water ninja. Aang, Zuko, Toph, Katara, Sokka, and Suki each looked with their own expressions of shock and surprise. What the hell? Zuko questioned. Call me crazy, but did I just feel 5 guys pop up out of nowhere? Toph questioned as well. Who, what are these things? Katara exclaimed. The foot mystics. Karai answered. The foot what? Sokka comically exclaimed. Mystics. Karai began to explain as she glared at them. Ancient beings who each possess the ability to control one of the 5 elements. Wait, 5 elements? Suki questioned. There are only 4. Not in my world. Karai continued. Each of the mystics controls one of the 5, earth, fire, water, wind, and metal. Karai, metal is just a form of purified earth. Toph pointed out. Tell that to them. Karai responded. So, are these guys like benders? Katara asked. Don't insult us. The fire mystic exclaimed. Indeed. The metal mystic continued. To compare us to the likes of you, who only possess a fraction of what your elements are capable of, is the equivalent of comparing a river to a mighty ocean. Our power is far superior to yours. The earth mystic stated. Beyond anything your human minds can fathom. Aang's eyes slowly widened as he only just now realized it. Their voices, their appearances, he's seen them before. Wait, I know these guys. This surprised the rest of Team Avatar, as well as Karai. What? Zuko questioned. You know them. Aang, what are you talking about? Katara asked. The young Avatar began to explain. Before we invaded the Fire Nation back at the Day of Black Sun, I was having those nightmares, remember? Well, one of those dreams, just before the invasion, I was fighting these guys. At first I thought they were just part of my dream, but now. That was no dream, Avatar. Karai explained. The mystics do not just control the elements, they possess multiple forms of dark magic. They were no doubt attempting to destroy your mind. Indeed, the wind mystic confirmed, we needed to learn more of this world. And what better way to know it, than to look inside the mind of the one who is supposed to protect it. But of course, we needed to distract your mind to mask our presence. The water mystic continued, so we instilled nightmares into you. Children are always so easily frightened, especially when shouldered with such heavy responsibilities. Aang's fists clenched as he glared at his new enemy. I beat you guys before, I can do it again. And this time, Aang's not alone. Katara said as she, Sokka, Zuko, Suki, and Toph stood by him, along with Karai. Do not underestimate them, Karai warned. There is more to their power than meets the eye. The mystics hovered off their pedestals and slowly descended around the young warriors. The 5 of them surrounded our heroes as they each readied themselves. Be prepared for anything and everything, Karai told them. Everyone prepared for battle as the mystics gave hard glares. The fire mystic glared toward Zuko, the water mystic to Katara, the earth mystic to Toph, the metal mystic to both Sokka and Suki, and the wind mystic to Aang. They each pointed their staffs forward and shot red, aqua, brown, blue, and white lighting like energy beams at the youngsters. They were unable to block it as the energy blast sent them flying back toward the wall where the entrance once was. Sokka groaned. Okay, magic elemental stuff and colored lightning. Really starting to think science hates us right now. He and everyone else gave a gasp as the mystics descended upon them. Outside, the war still continued as Iro shot a powerful lightning attack that blasted a hole clean through 1-foot mech suit, destroying it in one shot. He then propelled himself upward with fire from his feet to get a good view of 3 more about to fire at him before he brought his hands together and shot a massive fireball directly at the mechs, causing them explode upon contact. Jung soared up next to him as he shot fire streams directly into the air at the incoming foot razor jets and helicopters. The helicopters were easily shot down upon how slow they moved, but he had trouble with the much smaller and quicker razor jets and had to fly away along with Iro to avoid getting shot by their energy blasts. Boomy punched a hole into the ground and sent an earth platform up from the ground that launched both Leatherhead and Traximus directly at 2-foot mech suits. Leatherhead went full animal mode as he tore up the cockpit, and the unfortunate foot soldier inside, while Traximus used his own axe for essentially the same thing. Boomy also shot a large earth pillar from the ground directly at an incoming mech suit. Paku provided cover for Piendo, a couple of guardians, freedom fighters, and Kyoshi warriors with a water barrier to avoid getting shot by several razor jets flying toward them. Longshot took out his bow and arrow and shot a precise arrow directly into the engine of one passing razor jet, causing it to fall on the ground and crash some distance away. As the war below continued, Appa soared the red skies directly for the foot carrier. April held the reins as she saw the flying fortress, weapons pointing in their direction. Okay everyone, hang on. Guns and missiles were shot at the Sky Bison, but Appa was far too quick and nimble as every shot missed. Appa flew directly underneath the foot carrier's belly at high speeds before coming up the starboard side and flying directly toward the deck where several foot soldiers were lined up with bows and arrows. Appa was able to swipe his tail to create a powerful airwave to blast off the foot ninja and send them falling off the foot carrier's deck right as the mighty Sky Bison landed. April got off, followed by Mai, Casey, Ty Lee, Hakoda, and Professor Honeycutt. The group quickly ran to the door that would lead them inside, and Honeycutt got to work on the console. I should have this unlocked in just a moment. We don't have time for that. Mai interrupted as she ran to the door and kicked it down. That works too, Ty Lee said with a smile. Come on, let's go. Hakoda led them inside. The elite ninja were in the control room along with the foot technicians as they continued to watch the war play out below them. They heard a few noises coming from the door, causing them to turn around. The door suddenly burst open as several unconscious ninja were thrown in. Everyone looked to see a certain group standing at the doorway. Yo, we got an order for an ass whooping right here, Casey called out. Who else wants some? The elite ninja were on the attack as they leapt forward. We got this, Professor, do your thing, April told him as she, Casey, Hakoda, Ty Lee, and Mai clashed with the foot elite. Honeycutt quickly ran to the controls where several technicians were alarmed at his presence. "Gentlemen, if you would be so kind as to step aside." The technicians each pulled out a gun and pointed them toward the Fugitoid, who responded with electrical tasers from his hands and shocked them all into unconsciousness. Honeycutt then stepped toward one control console where his fingers converted into data drives, which he plugged in and began hacking, evident by the numbers that were appearing in his eyes. "Hacking in now. Yeah, take your sweet time," Mai said sarcastically as she avoided an axe slice from one elite ninja. Genetics lab. Mikey tried to bat away the water tentacles from the amphibian mutant with his nunchucks, but so far he was on the defensive end. As the monster lashes out all its tentacles at Mikey, he rolled out of the way as they dented the wall. Mikey stuck out his tongue. "Your aim stinks, dude," the creature hissed as it slithered toward him at intense speeds with ice at the tips of its tentacles, and Mikey was barely able to avoid them as he ducked. "Okay, shutting up now," he criticized himself before cartwheeling away with the amphibian mutant slithering after him. Don meanwhile was trying to slam his staff at the rock mutant, but it brought its rock covering to the front of its body to block Don's attack. Don tried to pole vault over him, but the creature could hear his movements, despite not having any eyes, and concentrated all its rock on its defensive back to block Don's attack again, much to his surprise. A series of rock fists were created as they tried to smash on Don, but he moved out of the way on time. "Okay, close combat not a good idea against this guy," Don noted. However, the rocks around the mutant all formed around him like a boulder as it rolled quickly toward Don, who ran away from it as fast as he could. At the same time, Raph jumped and ducked out of the way of the fire breath that the dragon mutant shot toward him from its mouth, as it was airborne due to its flame wings. As Raph flipped over and over to avoid the fire attacks, he was getting sick of simply evading, so he jumped on the wall and jumped further directly at the dragon mutant, tackling it out of the air and right onto the hard ground. Raph was about to impale its head, but the creature spat more fire from its mouth, forcing Raph to jump off. The dragon mutant got back up and slashed its claws at Raph, who was forced to use his safer defense. During all of this, both Leo and Master Splinter found themselves glaring at the cyborg Ozai, who maintained a cold and emotionless expression on its face. As Leo unsheathed his swords and Splinter took a combat stance, the cyborg Ozai's robotic arm produced a long whip which was coated in electricity, while from its flash hand a long blade slowly crept out of his knuckles. The blade lit on fire shortly after. Leo was the first to attack as he swung his swords at cyborg Ozai, who blocked all his attacks with his fire blade. As Leo kept up the assault up front, Splinter jumped from behind and landed a solid kick, pushing cyborg Ozai toward Leo, who impaled him with his sword. However, much to Leo's shock, cyborg Ozai was still standing. Leo quickly pulled his sword out and saw the flesh part of where he stabbed quickly healed. "Oh, that's not good," Leo said as the cyborg Ozai snapped his electrical whip at Leo, forcing him to jump back. Master Splinter then jumped in front of cyborg Ozai and laid a series of punches and kicks to knock back the reanimated abomination. It slammed hard into the wall, but refused to fall down as it straightened itself up and shot a powerful laser beam from his cybernetic eye. Splinter was able to duck and avoid it, but he could still feel the heat from it. Splinter jumped back once more, as did Leo, to avoid the eye beams shot their way. As Leo landed, he saw the situation his brothers were all in. "We should have gone with Aang. Mystic Shrine. We should have gone with Leo," Aang uttered as he, Karai, Zuko, Toph, Katara, Suki, and Sokka glared at the foot mystics before they charged directly at their enemy. Katara formed water whips around her arms and snapped her right whip at the water mystic, however the whip passed right through him as his body seemed to be made entirely out of water. "What?" Katara questioned before freezing some of her water and launching the ice at the water mystic, only to yield the same results. The water mystic's body converted into water as it turned into a powerful stream and slammed hard into Katara, forcing her hard to the ground. "What are these guys? We can't even touch them," she exclaimed as she struggled to get up. Karai and Suki clashed their respective swords against the staff wielded by the metal mystic and struggled as their weapons locked. During the struggle, Sokka gave a high-pitched yell as he tried to land a dramatic kick in the neck area of the metal mystic, but only felt hard metal on his foot, which hurt like hell. "Ow!" Sokka yelled as he held his foot. "That's not entirely true," he responded to his sister's statement. The metal mystic's armor began to shift from a solid metal to a liquid one as several sharp projectiles shot outward toward the three sword wielders, forcing them on the defensive end as they tried to defend themselves against the onslaught. The fire mystic produced a flame in his hand, which he launched toward Zuko, who rolled out of the way to avoid the explosive results. As he landed, he sent a fire fist directly at the fire mystic, who responded by twisting his own body in flame to absorb the fire attack from Zuko and sending an even more powerful wave of flame at the scared prince, who looked in shock at this use of fire. Zuko had no choice but to propel himself straight upward with fire from his feet to avoid the blast. Once he was directly above the fire mystic, he tired to land an axe kick directly onto his head, but the fire mystic's body evaporated in flame, causing Zuko to miss and hit the ground. The fire mystic's body reformed above Zuko as he thrusted his staff down at him with a powerful fire blast. Zuko responded with a point-blank fire attack. As the two attacks collided, it created a powerful explosion that shook much of the area. Aang backed a bit as the wind mystic ascended into the air before a massive tornado formed around his body, which quickly surged toward Aang, who created an air shield around him for defense. As the twister and shield collided, a powerful whirlwind formed in between the two and Aang was clearly struggling. Aang's shield lost as he was blown back by the powerful air blast, but quickly got back on his feet. "I'll give you guys credit," Aang said. "You're a lot harder to fight in real life. We told you that you were dealing with forces beyond your comprehension." The wind mystic replied as it sent a powerful whirlwind attack from his staff toward Aang, who tried to gain some distance on his air scooter. Toph found herself face to face with the earth mystic. She made a stance as she glared at him. "You think you're tough?" Toph challenged. "You're just a wannabe earthbender going against the greatest in the world." She coated both her fists in rocks as she laid a powerful punch, which actually seemed to obliterate the earth mystic's body made out of clay and dirt. However, another mound of clay and dirt formed from behind her and quickly reformed the earth mystic's body. Toph's feet could feel this as her dull eyes shook. "Wait, what? Spiteful child," the earth mystic spoke. "I shall show you true mastery of the earth." He raised his staff and drove it into the ground, creating a powerful tremor, which blasted the ground below Toph into pieces, sending her flying and screaming in the air as she landed hard on the ground. She quickly got up and stepped hard to send a powerful earth wave directly at the earth mystic, who responded by using his staff to create a large fist made out of earth from the ground, which punched through Toph's attack and sent her flying back once more. Katara backed up the stairs of the monastery as the water mystic sent a stream of water at Katara from his staff, which she caught with her waterbending and froze it into multiple ice blades, which she sent at the water mystic. Just like before, they passed through him, as his body seemed like it was made entirely out of water. "Impressive," the water mystic granted. "For a human, you have quite the drive. It's only a shame you choose to ignore us and abandoned your revenge." This caused Katara to look in confusion. "What are you talking about? Oh, you don't recognize me. Perhaps this will help." The water mystic's body began to shift as it took the form of Kya, as she was in the Western Air Temple, causing Katara's pupils to shrink. "Mom, you are quite the slow learner, aren't you?" The water mystic, disguised as Kya, with her voice, spoke to her. Katara then remembered after her encounter with Yanra, how the spirits of her mother and Yoshi came to her in her dreams and told her that dark magic had influenced her at the Western Air Temple. She was then struck with realization. "It was you." Katara's face turned into one of anger. "You were at the Air Temple. You tried to turn me against my friends." The disguised Kya reverted back to the true form of the water mystic. "Indeed, we sensed the darkness in your heart, the hatred you had for Zuko and Karai, as well as the one for the man who took your mother from you. Hate and anger are often easily manipulated. If your strings were pulled right, you would have slain the Avatar." That drove a stake in Katara's heart. "No, I wouldn't, I would never. You struck Leonardo, didn't you?" The water mystic recalled. "I can see the darkness in you. You claim to fight for others, yet deep inside, you are no different than the likes of those who slain your mother. Imagine how she'd feel if she saw you like that." Katara's heart felt like it was about to break. Not only did these monsters manipulate her and insult her mother, but also they tried to turn her against her friends, against Aang, the one that she loved. Tears welled up in her eyes as anger took over. She gave a yell as she angrily ran towards the water mystic. He took advantage of her anger and sent more water from his spear, which completely encased Katara in a water sphere. She couldn't breath or punch her way out, she couldn't think clearly enough to bend the water as the water mystic tried to drown her. The fire mystic shot a powerful flame attack at Zuko, which he was unable to block as the force from the attack blasted him back to the wall. Toph found herself stuck on defense with her own element for once as the earth mystic laid a relentless onslaught of boulders and rock fists at her, and her wall was close to breaking. The metal mystic sent a stream of liquid metal from his staff directly at Karai, Sokka, and Suki as they tried to jump back to avoid the metal that solidified into spikes and nearly shredded them. Aang avoided an air blade from the wind mystic as he saw the situation his friends were in. They were losing. It's hopeless, Avatar. The wind mystic told him. Your friends will not survive this, and neither will you. Aang's eyes flashed with an inner fire as he remembered how he was the master of all the elements, and during his time with Guru Patak, he remembered how all the elements were connected to each other. Each element had its own weakness. It's never hopeless, Aang stated as he got on his air scooter and flew away from the wind mystic. As he rode toward the trapped Katara and quickly used his own waterbending to free Katara and catch her bridal style. He dropped her off safely by the door as she tried to catch her breath and watch him ride back into the battle. Aang quickly formed an air sphere in his hands as he rode round. First he pulled in Zuko before he could get fried, then Karai, Suki, and Sokka before they were impaled, and finally Toph before she could be crushed. He quickly dropped them off by Katara near the door. You guys stay here, I can handle this. What? Aang, wait. Sokka tried to call him, but he was already running toward the mystics. Come on, we gotta help him. Suki tried to run after him, but Karai blocked her way. Karai. He knows what he is doing, she said as she and the others could only watch the battle to come. Aang stood in the middle as all 5-foot mystics hovered above him. So, you stand against us yet again, Avatar. The fire mystic observed. Do not think this will be like last time. Actually, it will be. Aang said with determination. He turned to the water mystic. I heard what you said to Katara. How dare you use her mother's image to manipulate her? You only have her to blame. The water mystic stated. Her will is weak. The metal mystic added. It seems you are ignorant to her dark side, as well as that within all of humanity. It is the nature of humankind to hate and oppress, to plunder and kill. The earth mystic said. Young Katara was no exception. The wind mystic continued. We saw her inner hatred and brought it to the surface. Everyone else heard this as Katara looked down in shame while Zuko, Karai, Sokka, Suki, even Toph looked toward her in sympathy. You don't know anything, Aang told the mystics, causing everyone to look at him. Humans are full of love and compassion. Sure, there are plenty of bad people out there, but not everyone is like that. I exist to maintain balance, and no matter who it is or their intentions, I will be there to help all those in need and stop all those who seek to hurt others for their own gain. Like you and the Shredder. Naive child. Prepare to taste true power. The fire mystic decaled as he shot a blast of flame from his staff. The other mystics followed in kind as the water mystic shot a stream of water from his staff, the wind mystic shot a mini tornado from his staff, the earth mystic shot a stream of clay and dirt from his staff, and the metal mystic blasted a stream of liquid metal from his staff. Aang took to the air with his airbending to avoid the attacks as he flew directly up and landed behind the metal mystic. Fire melts metal. Aang shouted as he shot a powerful stream of fire directly at the metal mystic, melting him to the point where he was nothing but a puddle of bubbling liquid steel. The water mystic tried to shoot a stream of water at Aang, but he caught it with his waterbending. Water douses fire. Aang brought the water down onto the fire mystic and encased him in a bubble. In less than 2 seconds, the fire mystic's body was reduced to nothing more than steam. Aang then jumped to avoid a combined attack from the remaining 3 mystics as he landed behind the water mystic. Earth absorbs water. Aang dug his hands into the ground and began to twist them to create a hole underneath the water mystic, which he then began to convert into a whirlpool of dirt that completely absorbed the water mystic into it till he became nothing more than mud. Aang then used his air scooter to shoot directly at the earth mystic. He formed small but powerful air spheres in his hands and punched them both directly into the earth mystic's body. Air scatters earth. Aang increased the air spheres in the earth mystic's body till they exploded and scattered the earth mystic's clay body all over the area. Aang then turned around to the only remaining mystic as he backed away nervously. And even the wind can be set ablaze. Aang twisted his hands to create a tornado that encompassed the wind mystic, but before the enemy could do anything, Aang used firebending to light the entire tornado on fire, turning it into a vortex of wind and flame. He yelled as he slammed the vortex down onto the ground, causing an explosion that took out the final mystic. Everyone who was watching could only look with expressions of awe, surprise, and amazement. Sokka was the first to voice it as he audibly cheered Aang. "Ah yeah, go Aang, airbending SLCIE. Sokka cheered. "Wahoo, you go Twinkle Toes." Toph cheered as well. "He did it." Katara smiled. "Hold on a minute guys." Suki spoke up. "Why isn't Aang celebrating?" They all saw him with his back to them, as he fell to his knees. "I understand." Zuko spoke up. "What?" Sokka asked. "I think just killed them." Zuko responded, causing everyone to look in surprise, save for Karai. "You remember that argument we had before, about him taking a life?" Everyone seemed to get it as happy expressions shifted to one of sympathy, especially Katara who could only hold her hands over her heart. Aang. Karai was the first to slowly walk to the kneeling avatar as he looked at his hands with shaky eyes. "What did I just do?" He spoke aloud. "They were evil, no doubt but, did I just kill them?" Karai placed a hand on Aang's shoulder. "No, you did not." Aang looked toward Karai in confusion. "What do you mean?" "Aang, the mystics aren't alive in the same sense that you and I are." Karai began. "They are physical manifestations of the elements infused with dark magic. They have no blood, no hearts, nothing of that nature." Aang felt a sense of relief as he heard from a friend that he didn't kill anyone. "That's good." Everyone else walked up. "So wait, they're not dead?" Toph asked. "No." Karai answered. "Aang may have stopped them, but they will rise again eventually." Everyone looked to her in surprise. "Even after what Aang just did to them?" Suki questioned. "As I said, they are physical manifestations of dark magic, they are living energy." Karai explained. "Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just changed from one form to another." "Okay, how exactly did Shredder get his hands on something like this?" Sokka questioned out loud. Karai had a serious look on her face. "Follow me." She walked up the stairs of the monastery with Team Avatar following her. Within the monastery were 5 flags, each one bearing the foot symbol, just modified slightly to represent the elements. Karai walked toward the center flag as she used her sword to slice it and reveal a tiny chamber with a crystal pendant on top of an altar. "What is that?" Zuko asked. "It is called the Heart of Tengu." Karai answered. "My father found it many years ago. This is what binds the mystics to his service. A powerful spell lays upon it that prevents the mystics from touching it. Binds them to his service." Aang repeated. "So, they're his slaves?" "Yes." Karai confirmed with a nod. "So, what do we do then?" Katara asked honestly. Aang looked at the Heart of Tengu for a brief moment before he became serious. He formed a fireball on his hand, which he threw at the crystal, causing it to shatter, much to the surprise of his friends. "There," Aang said. "They were his slaves, but now they're free." "You freed them?" Sokka angrily questioned. "After what they tried to do to us." "I know, they're bad guys, they're evil. I get that," Aang acknowledged. "But Shredder is the greater evil, and no one deserves to be a slave to someone like him. And what happens if they come back to thank us by trying to kill us again?" Toph questioned. "We'll figure that out later," Aang said. "Right now, Shredder is our top priority." "Aang's right," Zuko said. "I don't know about freeing these mystic guys, but Shredder is the bigger threat. And by destroying the Heart of Tengu, my father can no longer control them. This takes a powerful weapon out of his hands." Karai added. Katara looked toward Aang. "Aang, are you sure?" Aang nodded. "I'm sure." Not too long after that, the whole mystic shrine slowly began to fade away as it reverted back to the crystal chambers beneath Ba Sing Se that Zuko and Katara were once imprisoned in. "What happened?" Suki asked. "The crystal is destroyed, so is the cage that bound the mystics to my father's will." Karai answered. "Well, I'm not sure what that means, but my feet can feel where we are again." Toph joyously exclaimed. "Oh, and good news. I know where Shredder is." "Seriously?" Aang, Katara, Sokka, and Suki questioned at the same time. "Yep, I can feel him and a bunch of his buddies not far from here. Toph said with a smile. Let's go pay Buckethead a visit. What about Master Splinter and the others? Zuko wondered. Karai tapped onto her comms. Drive Chaplin, do you read me? Karai, where were you? Chaplin asked frantically. I completely lost contact with you. Are you okay? I'm fine. Karai told him. We had an encounter with the Mystics, but everything is alright now. Chaplin's sigh of relief could be heard from the other side of the comms. That's good to hear. Where are the turtles? Karai asked. Surveillance footage shows they just finished up what was holding them and are moving directly for Shredder. If you move now, you should catch up to them. Thank you. Karai turned to the group. The turtles and Splinter are on their way. Let's catch up with them. Don't have to tell me twice. Toph smiled as she and Aang both used their earthbending to create a tunnel out of the catacombs and ran as fast as they could. Right as they left, however, the transparent figures of the Foot Mystics appeared looking in the direction their unwitting pawns ran to. Thank you, Avatar. The Fire Mystic sneered evilly before he and his brothers faded away. Foot Genetics Lab, several minutes earlier. Mikey continued to swerve and avoid the relentless onslaught of the serpent mutant and its water tentacles. Mikey ran back towards a control console built onto the side of the wall. He screamed as it lunged at him with a series of ice projectiles. He desperately flailed his nunchucks to deflect them, but accidentally knocked off a piece of the console, exposing some sparking wires. The orange-clad turtle looked to this and smirked as he turned to the serpent mutant. That all you got? My grandma can shoot better than you. He stuck out his tongue. The serpent mutant hissed at that as it sent all its water tentacles at the smirking Mikey, who rolled out of the way just in time as the water tentacles hit the exposed wires. The electricity quickly traveled along the water and directly to the mutant, causing it to yell in agony as it was shocked beyond belief. It stopped as its body smoked for a bit before it fell back in unconsciousness. Guess paying attention to Dawn has its perks. Mikey cracked. Speaking of Dawn, no matter how hard he hit, he couldn't land a solid blow on the rock mutant as its body was always protected by its stone barrier. And as long as its heightened hearing was still in play, there was no way he could get close. That's when it clicked to Dawn. Wait, you can't see but you can hear. Dawn spoke to the mutant. He smirked. Guess what? That can also be your greatest disadvantage. The rock mutant formed a powerful and large rock body with LRGE fists as it tried to smash them on Dawn, who rolled out of the way as he took out one of his shell cells and pressed a few buttons, pulled a few wires, and turned up the volume to max. Hope you like rock and roll, Dawn said as he pressed the play button and batted the phone at the rock mutant. Right as it played, intense rock music played at an intense and maxed out volume. The sound waves hit the mutant's ears directly, forcing the creature to yell as it used its skinny hands to cover its ears. Gotcha! Dawn exclaimed as he jumped up and used this distraction to his advantage. He slammed his staff hard across the exposed head of the frail mutant, knocking it out instantly. Dawn smirked at his victory. Science, don't ever fail me. At the same time, Raph delivered a kick to the dragon mutant's side, knocking it back. But the creature recovered and tried to slice at Raph with his claws, but the red-clad turtle rolled underneath him and leapt onto his back. Come on big guy, let's go for a ride. Raph challenged as he covered the mutant's eyes so it couldn't see. It started to act rabid and wild without its sight, almost like a mad bull. Raph gave a yee-haw cry at this makeshift rodeo as he pulled on the dragon mutant's head, forcing to run at intense speed directly toward a wall. Raph jumped off in time as the mutant slammed face first into the unforgiving wall, which sent a tremor up to the ceiling where debris fell onto it, knocking it out cold. Best rodeo ever, Raph cracked. However, Leo and Splinter found themselves struggling greatly at the hands of Cyborg Ozai. Leo used his sword solely for defense against Cyborg Ozai's flame blade and electric whip. Master Splinter tried to come in from behind, but Cyborg's head turned a full 180 degrees and shot its laser eye at Splinter, blasting him back to the wall on the far side. Master Splinter! Leo exclaimed in worry. This left him open as Cyborg Ozai swept his right robotic leg at Leo to send him flying. The cyborg's victory was short-lived as it heard a cowabunga. Mikey rode on an examination table on wheels and slammed it into the cyborg, sending it crashing to the wall. Before it could recover, Raph fell down first from the ceiling, impaling it in the back. Don then came in and slammed his staff across its face just as Mikey did the same with his nunchucks. But the cyborg used its inhumane agility to jump up, taking Raph with him. He flipped and fell on his back, with Raph taking the brunt of it. Raph fell off and Cyborg Ozai kicked him right at Mikey and Don, knocking them both back. But all three Turtles got up and charged at the monstrosity with their weapons. Leo got up and helped his father up. "Master Splinter, are you okay?" Splinter groaned slightly. "Yes, but this abomination must be destroyed. We cannot waste any more time." Leo nodded. "You're right. Keep it busy, I'll handle the rest." "Very well." Master Splinter got up and leapt back at the battle. Cyborg Ozai snapped his electric whip at Don, ensnaring his staff and sending an electric current at Don. Mikey tried to come in from the side but the cyborg shot its laser eye at him before pulling back his whip and snapping Mikey back. Raph charged in next with a neck slash, but the cyborg's flesh quickly healed as it pulled back its flame blade and swung down on Raph, who quickly blocked it with his sei as the two struggled against each other. Master Splinter gave a yell as he landed a kick on Cyborg Ozai's chest. The two exchanged eye contact before charging forward. Splinter stayed close so his whip and eye beam would be useless as he parried the punches and sword slashes of the cyborg. While Splinter kept it distracted, Leo put on the metal glove and unsheathed the sword of Tengu as it lit with power. He quickly ran towards the fight. Splinter threw a punch, but Cyborg Ozai caught it with his fist before blasting him with a point-blank eye beam to blast Splinter back. Mikey, Don, and Raph gasped as they saw Cyborg Ozai pin its right foot on Splinter's chest. "No, Master Splinter!" Raph exclaimed. "Get back!" Don yelled. "Look out!" Mikey yelled as well. Cyborg Ozai raised his flame blade, ready for the finishing blow. However, Leo's yell caught its attention. Right as its head turned. Slash! Asterisk. Leo slid past the Cyborg Ozai with the sword of Tengu in hand. Less than a second later, Cyborg Ozai's head fell clean off. The body fell backwards on the ground as a mixture of blood and an oil-like substance fell out of the neck opening. Leo put back the sword of Tengu as he helped his father to his feet. Raph, Don, and Miki joined him. "You really got a thing for the head slicing there, bro," Raph joked, referring to the time when Leo decapitated Shredder back at the Foot HQ. Leo smirked in amusement. "Nice one, Leo." Mikey high-fived him. "Yeah, real perfect timing." Don congratulated. "Thanks guys, but we're not done yet," Leo said seriously. "Agreed," Splinter said. "The Shredder is still active, and we must stop him." "What about Aang and the others?" Mikey asked. "I got a feeling we'll meet them later," Leo replied to his youngest brother. "Let's just hope we all get to Shredder at the same time." "Then what are we waiting for?" Raph questioned. "Time to shut Shredder down once and for all." With that, the Turtles and Master Splinter ran through the door that was their exit and would lead them directly to their mortal enemy. Foot Carrier Control Bridge. Hakoda clashed his sword against the Foot Elite with the double-bladed sword and was stuck on the defensive end. As the Elite Ninja was far quicker than him, he was lucky he didn't get hit yet. He would however receive the help he needed as Casey came in with a baseball bat and golf club in each hand as he forced the Elite back. "These guys are tough," Hakoda admitted. "Come on, we can take 'em," Casey stated as they both fought back against the Elite. April used her katana to parry the strikes from the Elite wielding the trident as she was forced back against the wall and locked their weapons. Professor, not to rush you. But these guys aren't playing around," April urged the Fugitoid. "I'm already in the system," Professor Honeycutt replied as he was still hooked into the controls. "I just need a couple of more minutes." "Not sure we have a couple more minutes," Mai exclaimed as she threw her knives against the Elite with the axe as he sliced through all of them and went at Mai with a horizontal strike, forcing her to duck and deliver a cartwheel kick to get some distance and knock the Elite back. Tai Li, who had no weapon, could only dodge the strikes from the Elite with the spear. He moved too quickly for her to get an opening to block his Kai, but she was nimble enough to avoid getting sliced. She cartwheeled over a computer console just as the Elite plunged his spear into it. He jumped over the console after her however. "Almost," Professor Honeycutt said as data moved rapidly on the screens all over the control room. "There. I found it." "Great," Mai uttered. "In the meantime, we could use some help." Mai clasped her hands against the axe of the Elite she was fighting to avoid getting sliced. "Allow me to assist." Honeycutt began to work his magic as a series of small turrets fell from the ceiling and shot at each of the elite ninja, shocking them with electrical blasts before they fell unconscious. This earned a sigh of relief from Hakoda, April, Ty Lee, Casey, and Mai. "Thanks, Professor." Ty Lee thanked. "Don't thank me yet," Honeycutt said as he plugged out of the console. "We need to get of this ship." "What are you talking about?" Hakoda asked. "I've activated the self-destruct sequence," Honeycutt revealed, much to the surprise of everyone listening. "You set the whole thing to blow," Casey exclaimed, "with all of us inside. I've set a delayed countdown to provide us time to escape, while at the same time activating the autopilot to move the ship far from the city so none of our allies below will get caught in the explosion or any falling debris." The Fugitoid explained. "Oh," April looked surprised. "Well, good work, Professor. We still have to get off this thing," Hakoda pointed out. "How much time do we have?" 9 minutes, 42 seconds. Honeycutt answered. "Then let's get the hell out of here," Mai exclaimed. "Right behind you," Casey and Ty Lee said at the same time as they all ran out of the control room. The foot carrier had moved at surprisingly fast speed as the autopilot moved it already past the outermost ring of Boss Sing Se and into the outskirts. 5 minutes had passed before they were back up on the deck, where Appa was waiting for them. April got back on the reins as Honeycutt, Casey, Hakoda, Ty Lee, and Mai hopped on. 4 minutes and 2 seconds till detonation. Honeycutt informed as Appa took off and began to fly away from the foot carrier and back toward the city. It seemed like time passed too quickly as Appa flew back over the city and they could only see a small speck of the further distancing foot carrier over a chain of mountains, and the Fugitoid made the final countdown. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Asterisk. A massive explosion could be seen from all over the city. It almost looked like a miniature sun was rising. Appa flew at intense speed to escape the shockwave that was coming their way. They just barely made it as the light vanished and the dust cleared, leaving absolutely nothing. Several clouds were blown away, and even a couple of mountain tops were missing. The group on Appa looked with wide eyes and open mouths at what they just saw. "Damn," Mai breathed. Casey's face portrayed a loud grin as he gave a mighty cheer. "Ah yeah baby. That's what you get when you mess with Casey Jones and his friends. Yeah, Goongala. Okay, settle down." Hakoda calmed Casey down, though he was chuckling at Casey's enthusiasm. "We're not done yet though." "He's right," April agreed. "Let's get back to General Iro and the others and finish the job." They came to a silent agreement as Appa flew back to the battlefield. Inside the massive chambers, just outside the even larger silo holding the ship, Shredder still stood with his most powerful henchman. Stockman's robotic body received a transmission, and the holographic head of Stockman's eyes portrayed one of horror. "Uh-oh, what is it?" Shredder growled. "Ah, Master," Stockman stuttered. "The foot carrier has been destroyed." That caught everyone by surprise. "What?" Dark Leo questioned. "Our most powerful fortress is gone." "But how?" Dark Dawn questioned as well. "That was built from the most advanced of technology. It was impervious to all attacks. Someone hacked into it and activated the self-destruct," Stockman informed. "Not just that though. The enemy forces have already pushed their way deep into the upper ring of the city, and our forces are barely holding out. Even with Sozin's comet enhancing all firebenders." Azula questioned. "Ah, yeah, guess Sozin's comet ain't all it cracked up to be." Dark Raph cracked. "Yeah, just one lousy fireball." Dark Mikey cracked as well, causing the two Dark Turtles to laugh, but their laugh was cut off as Shredder slapped them both back with one single palm swipe. "None of this matters," Shredder spoke up. "How long until we launch?" "We're all ready to go, Master," Hun informed. "The genetic tanks and program have all been uploaded into the ship's database." "Then it's time we take our leave," Hama said. "Board the ship. We are launching immediately," Shredder ordered. "Not if we have anything to say about it." Everyone turned to the source of the voice. It was Leonardo, standing alongside Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Master Splinter. "The turtles, and their rat," Hun growled. But before another move was made, the wall next to the door exploded in a pile of rock, courtesy of Aang in an earthbending stance, standing alongside Katara, Zuko, Sokka, Toph, Karai, and Suki. The groups made eye contact before turning their attention to Shredder. "I am not letting you on that ship, Shredder. You will not be the end of my world. Aang declared. Shredder growled. I have tolerated your mutant freaks and children for far too long. I made a grave mistake in not exterminating you sooner, a mistake I plan to correct right now. Kill them all. With that, the turtles, Team Avatar, Splinter, and Karai charged forward against the charging enemy of Shredder. The Dark Turtles, Azula, Hun, Stockman, and Hama and all clashed at the center of the large chamber. Leo immediately clashed swords against Dark Leo as Raph jumped and kicked back Dark Raph. Azula shot a powerful stream of blue flame at Zuko, who responded with his own fire as their flames clashed. Karai jumped over the flames and toward Azula as she swung her blades at her, forcing the princess to duck and avoid them. Mikey parried his nunchucks against the clubs of Dark Mikey while Dawn faced off against Dark Dawn, clashing bow staff against arm guard. Toph created an earth ramp to propel herself directly at Hun, who readied held a massive club in his hands. Katara created her water whips as she lunged them at the covered-up Hama, who intercepted them with her own waterbending and threw the attack back at Katara, who caught it in response. Sokka and Suki rolled out of the way as Stockman's robotic arms produced laser guns, which opened fire on them. Aang and Splinter were both face-to-face with Shredder. Shredder, you cannot be allowed to leave this world. Splinter declared, to wreak havoc across the universe. And I won't let you destroy my world, just so you can get revenge on the Utroms, Chirel. Aang stated. What? Shredder exclaimed with honest shock as the Avatar addressed him by his Utrom name. How do you know that name? I know all about you. Aang responded. I know who you are and where you come from. As well, my father, Hamato Yoshi, was a guardian. Splinter revealed. He forbids your exodus. And in his name, we shall not allow you passage. Splinter clashed his fists against Shredder as Aang joined in with a flaming wave from his kick to knock Shredder back, but he landed on his hands and flipped back to land on his feet before charging back at them with a yell. Zuko created a set of fire whips to parry the blue fire blast sent by his sister. Azula, listen to me. You're on the wrong side. Shut up. Azula yelled as she was about to throw another fire blast at him, but a chain was quickly wrapped around her body, courtesy of Karai from behind, stopping Azula's attack. Your brother speaks the truth. Karai told Azula. The Shredder has deceived you. Oh Karai, I am going to enjoy silencing you. Azula breathed. Just so I never have to listen to one of your annoying lectures. She propelled herself upward via fire blasts from her feet to break out of the chain that was binding her. She was in the air and fell down with blue flame in both her hands, blasting each flame at Zuko and Karai respectfully as they tried to dodge it. Leo continued to clash blades against his evil clone. Are you seriously gonna help Shredder kill billions of lives? Of course, I don't care about any of that crap. Dark Leo stated. None of my brothers do. All I wanted is to destroy you and anyone else in my way. They continued to clash. Raph, Dawn, and Mikey found themselves circled up against their respective clones as they approached with deadly intent. I would say that this has been fun, brothers, but it hasn't. Dark Dawn said. It was fun for me. Dark Mikey laughed, but not as fun as it's gonna be when we smash your skulls. Dark Raph exclaimed. All three Dark Turtles jumped toward them, but the three real turtles jumped higher into the air, causing all three evil mutants to smack hard into each other. As they groaned, they looked up to see Mikey, Dawn, and Raph coming down on them with their weapons. Toph threw multiple boulders at Hun, who batted them away with his club. I've waited a long time for this, you little runt. Feelings mutual muscle head. Toph spat as she made a gesture to bring it on. Hun charged, but Toph used her metal bending to bend and twist the club to the point where Hun couldn't use it anymore. Before he could respond, Toph coated her entire body in rock as she propelled herself directly at Hun and smacked him hard in the gut. However, he quickly stabilized himself and smacked both his fists down on her back before kicking her hard to knock the rock armor off. But Toph was able to get back to her feet. Hun cracked his neck a bit as Toph spat out a pebble and smirked. Suki came in with her katana, but Stockman blocked it with his robotic arm before trying to punch her with his left hand, but it was momentarily stopped by Sokka's boomerang before he came in and smacked his sword on his body, causing Stockman to back up, somewhat dangerously close to the edge of the silo where the starship was. Oddly tough, he was actually laughing. Swords and a boomerang. You actually are trying to stop me with those. Stockman laughed. How positively primitive. Hey, who you calling primitive? Sokka took offense to Stockman's statement before charging forward and clashing his sword against Stockman's robotic arms. However, this was a distraction as Suki jumped on Stockman from behind. What are you doing? Stockman tried to shake her off. Suki saw the exposed joint in Stockman's right arm. This looks important. She thrusted her sword into the exposed joint as Sokka did the same from the front. This resulted in the severing of the joint as the whole right arm fell off. My robotic arm. No. Stockman yelled as he twisted his left hand to slap back both Sokka and Suki. Stockman tried to calm himself down. It's nothing. Just a momentary nuisance. My back up. He didn't get a chance to finish as Sokka and Suki both ran toward him and jumped to deliver flying kicks to his chest that knocked Stockman down the silo pit. This is just a minor setback. Stockman screamed as he fell and landed deep and hard into the pit. Not much of a fighter, was he? Suki guessed. And he gives us inventors a bad name. Sokka pointed out. Let's help the others, Suki said. Right. Sokka agreed. Katara created an ice shield to protect herself against Hama's whip as she viciously attacked her. Katara then exploded the ice shield to break Hama's focus a bit, allowing Katara to run up to her and deliver a punch and kick to knock Hama down. This only seemed to anger Hama even further. You little brat. I'm gonna kill you. She lunged at Katara, but she already formed a set of ice claws on her hands as she slashed past Hama. Katara looked back, but her determined look turned into one of shock, borderline horror, as she saw Hama's body. Her upper clothes and bandages had all but fallen off as Hama's body was both pale and a sickly green. Her arms looked like they were only being held together by poor stitch work and nails, while similar stitches were seen on her face. Her hair was almost falling off as it became shaggy and gray. Hama, what happened to you? Katara questioned. You happened. Hama yelled at her. What? It was you. Always you from the beginning. Hama yelled. If you hadn't come to that Fire Nation village, you wouldn't have stopped me from seeking my revenge. That led me to the Shredder, who turned me into this. But I asked for that, only because you put me in that situation. You did this to me. You did it to yourself. Katara told her. I didn't force you into this. Shut your mouth. Hama yelled as she quickly threw 2 water whips at Katara. One wrapped around her body and solidified into ice while the other covered her mouth and also solidified into ice to prevent her from speaking. Your voice is like poison to me. Hama pulled Katara close, who looked quite frightened, but she was able to swipe her unbound feet to knock Hama down. This allowed Katara to use her own waterbending to break out of Hama's ice bindings. Hama tried to get up but quickly fell to her feet as she coughed and hacked a storm, covering her mouth with her hand. She looked and saw some blood on her hands and some coming down from her mouth. No, Hama's eyes trembled. Not yet, it's too soon. I'm not finished. I can't die before I finish killing her. Katara could see it, Hama's mind and body were both falling apart. Aang created an air scooter as he lunged at Shredder and jumped over him to avoid a slice from his claws. As Aang landed behind him, he instantly blew a powerful gust of air from his mouth to send Shredder flying towards Splinter, who picked up a metal pole to smack Shredder back. However, Shredder quickly got up and clashed his claws against Splinter's pole. Aang tried to come in from behind, but Shredder heard him coming and swerved out of the way to grab Aang by the back of his head and throw him at Splinter, who was able to catch him as the two stood firm against Shredder before clashing again. Karai swung her swords towards Azula as she backed away and sent several waves of blue flame with her kicks and thrusts, which Karai was able to avoid as she backflipped. Zuko shot several more fire fists toward Azula, who created a flame dome to protect herself from the flames. Zuko propelled himself above Azula, shooting flames at her, which she intercepted with her own blue flames as Zuko landed next to Karai. I can't get her to listen. Zuko told her. Karai looked back to a control console and got an idea. Then we will have to show her. Subdue her. On it. Zuko charged at Azula and swerved underneath the blue flames shot her way. Karai got to the console and began to type in several commands. She got in and clicked a link on the screen that read, security footage. Zuko was able to get close to Azula as he wrapped his arms around her body, holding her tight as she struggled to get out. Let me go. Azula screamed. You need to see something. Zuko shot a fire blast from his feet that propelled both him and his sister toward Karai, who was able to catch Azula as they both tried to hold her. Azula, stop fighting and listen. Zuko tried. I am not listening to anything you have to say. Azula yelled. Then we won't speak, but we will show you. Karai said as she used her free hand to press a command key. Perhaps. The sound of Ozai's voice stopped Azula's struggling as she turned her attention to the screen, though Zuko and Karai still held her just in case. She was being shown the footage of Ozai's bunker during the Day of Black Sun. Now I realize that banishment is far too merciful a penalty for treason. Your penalty will be far saint. What happened next caused Azula's eyes to widen and her pupils to shrink. She saw the footage of Shredder stabbing Ozai in the back. She saw her father fall to the ground as Shredder stood over him. Hello Ozai. Shredder why, I. Look at you. The mighty Fire Lord. You believe yourself to be the leader of a great nation, but you know nothing of true power. Azula's eyes continued to waver as she saw the footage of Shredder place his foot on Ozai's throat. You've squandered countless resources, believing only your own countries to be necessary. You've choked this entire world with meaningless blood. I assure you I will not make the same mistake. I will use what is left of this world to construct my own empire that will expand countless worlds. I will drain the Fire Nation dry of everything it has before I do the same with the rest of this pitiful planet. Thank you for your help Ozai, but I no longer require your aid. Goodbye. Azula's face became pale as she saw the footage of Shredder crushing her father's throat. Karai stopped the footage as she and Zuko let go of Azula, who fell to her knees. What? I don't understand. I didn't kill our father. Zuko said. Shredder did. He slaughtered everyone else in charge except for you because he wanted to use you as a figurehead, to keep the Fire Nation under his control. You were his puppet Azula. Project Meteoroid is meant to destroy this world, including the Fire Nation. Karai added. He never had any intention of helping it. To him, the Fire Nation was a means to an end, one he is now ready to discard. But, he promised me. Azula's voice cracked like she was about to cry. He said if I helped him. He lied to you, he lied to everyone. Zuko told her. He placed a comforting hand on his sister's shoulder. I'm sorry Azula. But, you should go. Leave, I don't want you caught up in this. Zuko turned to Karai and they both nodded. They turned around and went back to the battle and left Azula alone as she let this new information sink in. Hama went absolutely insane with every attack that she laid on Katara, who could only block what came her way. Katara found herself backed into a literal corner as the maddened Hama closed in on her. You're mine, little Katara. However, before she could make any move, Sokka elbowed Hama back as he held his sword. Stay away from my sister. Suki and Sokka both stood with Katara as they faced the maddened Hama, but looked shocked at the state she was in. What happened to her? Suki asked. Her body is falling apart. Probably something went wrong when they cloned her. Katara guessed. At this point, I don't really care. Sokka said. I won't let her have her way. Hama's eyes had lost all sense of reason as they conveyed a pure bloodlust as she saw the three youths. She gave a maniacal yell as she bent all the water and ice around her like some form of maniacal armor as she charged forward. Meanwhile, Aang and Splinter both seemed to go on even par with Shredder as he could block and throw back everything they both threw at him, and more. He kicked Splinter back and slashed toward an incoming Aang to force him back. Shredder then raised his claws as he jumped in the air, ready to slice down Aang. Before he made contact however, Karai quickly appeared in front of Aang and blocked Shredder's attack with her swords. Shredder looked in surprise briefly before he was blasted back with a powerful flame attack. Zuko. Karai. Aang exclaimed, happy to see them, as they both joined Aang and Splinter in facing the recovering Shredder. Shredder glared at the two of them. Zuko. It's a pity you chose to stand against me. You could have served me well. As your puppet, Zuko questioned. Like my sister. I won't deny it. Shredder turned to his adoptive daughter. Karai, after everything I've done for you, raised you, fed you, taught you everything you know, you still betray me. To save countless innocent lives. Yes. Karai replied. I have renounced the foot, and I renounce you, Shredder. So be it, then you will die with all of them. Shredder declared as he engaged the four in combat. Hun sent a fist in Toph's gut to send her flying, but while she was in the air, Hun punched her again to send her hurtling to a rock wall. She landed hard as some blood came out of her mouth and fell on her hands and knees. Hun slowly approached her as he cracked his knuckles. He chuckled. "It's over, you little brat. And you think you're the greatest little earth runt." He was about to punch her, but Toph created an open rock socket in her right hand, which caught Hun's fist and closed immediately, much to his shock. Toph looked at Hun in the eyes, despite being blind. "I am the greatest earthbender in the world. Do not ever forget it," Toph exclaimed as she used her earthbending on the wall behind her to send a massive rock fist at Hun and send him flying to the other side of the lab and through the wall. Hun struggled a bit. "Ah, crud," he uttered before falling into unconsciousness. Leo, Raph, Dawn, and Mikey were lined up as they face off against their respective clones. "We're too evenly matched with these guys," Dawn observed. "Gee, you think?" Raph uttered sarcastically. "We don't have time to play around with them, though," Mikey said in a rare serious moment. "You're absolutely right, Mikey," Leo said. "It's time to end this." He put on the metal glove as he quickly took out the sword of Tengu. Each of the Dark Turtles had his own look of shock and horror as they remembered when Zuko used the sword on them as well. "Mommy," Dark Mikey squeaked. Leo thrusted the sword forward to send an energy blast at all 4 Dark Turtles and send them flying through a wall on the other side of the large lab, knocking all 4 out almost instantly. At the same time, Shredder was having a very difficult time against the 4 opponents he was facing. Zuko shot a powerful fire blast directly at him and scored a direct hit to knock Shredder down onto the ground, where Aang raised a column of earth to send Shredder into the air, where Karai and Splinter had both jumped up from the wall next to it. As they fell, Splinter and Karai delivered powerful kicks to send Shredder falling down hard onto the ground at an increased rate and landing hard. Karai and Splinter landed gracefully alongside Aang and Zuko as they watched Shredder struggle to get up. He growled even further as he couldn't even land a deadly enough blow on them yet. "Your efforts are futile. I cannot be stopped." Shredder's ranting was cut off as a powerful fist-shaped rock column erupted from under him to send him smacking into a nearby wall. "Geez, does this guy ever shut up?" Toph cracked as she joined her friends. As Shredder tried to get up, he looked upward to see the glaring faces of Aang, Toph, Karai, Splinter, and Zuko, all looking down on them. However, a flash of light caught his attention. He looked a bit past his current enemies to see Leo use the sword of Tengu to finish off the Dark Turtles, and his eyes flashed. Shredder gave a roar as he exploded his hands outward to knock back all 5 heroes as he gunned straight for the turtles. Aang looked and saw what Shredder was doing, causing him to look with wide eyes. "Guys, look out." Aang's warning came a bit too late as the turtles turned around to see Shredder leaping high into the air and landing in the middle of them. He kicked back Dawn and Mikey before slapping Raph away. He lunged at Leo and slashed him back with his claws, forcing Leo to drop the sword. "No!" Leo exclaimed as the Trolls recovered, while Aang, Splinter, Zuko, Toph, and Karai joined them just in time to see Shredder take up the sword of Tengu. Its energy surged through his armor. "Yes, the sword of Tengu. It is mine once more." Shredder swung his sword to send a powerful energy wave at all 9 of the heroes closest to him to send each of them flying backwards and rolling across the ground. Shredder then gave a mighty and evil laugh as he held the active sword of Tengu. He looked a bit toward the farthest corner and saw the struggle between Katara, Sokka, Suki, against Hama. He then swung his sword to create a powerful energy wave and send it at them. "Katara!" Aang screamed as they saw it fly toward them. Katara heard Aang call her name as she looked to see the attack coming their way. Sokka saw it coming too and tackled his sister and girlfriend out of the way just before it hit. Hama was not so lucky as it hit dead on. She screamed as her already fragile body was torn up by the intense power of the sword of Tengu. It completely fell apart and turned to dust almost instantly, leaving nothing more than ash of Hama, ending her. Everyone had his or her own expressions of shock and horror at that. Shredder's look remained unfazed as he gave an evil look to all his enemies. "You are all next." He flashed his sword one more time. Azula's mind was racing as she let everything she learned sink in. While on the ground, she now knew the truth. Shredder had murdered her father, lied to her and manipulated her, tricked her into attacking her brother, and even gave a hollow promise to rule the world when really he was just destroying it. Azula followed Shredder because she both feared and admired him. He was the first person to ever beat her one-on-one. After her father died, her sense of admiration toward him almost deluded her into seeing her as a father figure, however all that had vanished. Azula heard a flash and weakly turned her devastated face to see Shredder using the sword of Tengu to blast back the turtles, Team Avatar, Splinter and Karai. The second she saw Shredder, her eyes flashed as a new emotion swept on her. It was rage. She stood up and had a look on her face that made her previous look toward Zuko look completely passive. Leo and Karai tried to slash at Shredder, but he sent a wave of energy to blast them both back. Sokka, Suki, and Splinter tried to come in from the right side as Dawn, Mikey, and Raph came in from the right, but Shredder spun himself to create a circular wave to blast them back too. Aang, Katara, Zuko, and Toph stood together as they sent a combined attack of air, water, fire, and earth directly at him, but Shredder thrusted the sword of Tengu further as it blasted their attack away and all of them back. Fools! All of you! Shredder exclaimed. Your pathetic techniques are nothing compared to the power I now wield. You cannot stop me. No one can. Shredder. Everyone looked up as they, even Shredder, saw in surprise Azula high in the air with powerful blue flames in her hand, and a look of pure anger and hate in her eyes. I'm going to kill you. Azula yelled as she sent a massive blue fireball at Shredder, who used the sword of Tengu to blast it away, creating an explosion. This gave the heroes an opportunity to get some distance as they each looked in their own expressions of surprise as they saw Azula standing on a piece of rubble, facing Shredder. I was expendable to you. Azula yelled. Just like my father. Just like everyone else. You planned all of this, all of it, right from the start. You used me. Of course I did, Shredder said, knowing she likely found out about his deception. I've taken all the Fire Nation had to offer me, which wasn't that much. You are nothing more than my tool, a weapon to be thrown away, just like your father. Azula scowled even further as she produced blue flames in her hands. Azula, wait. Leo tried to stop her. No. He's mine. She erected a large and massive firewall that separated her and the Shredder. She wanted him all to herself. Azula sent a very powerful fire blast toward Shredder, who swiped the sword of Tengu to create an energy wave to cancel her attack. He thrusted the sword forward and sent an energy wave directly at her, forcing her to swerve to the side. But she saw the powerful hole that was left in the wall from it. She gave a death glare toward Shredder as she sent yet another powerful blast of blue flame, but Shredder was able to block it by using the sword's energy as a shield. The erratic blasts of blue fire and energy from the sword of Tengu were powerful enough that everyone else was forced to find some form of cover to avoid getting swept up. Toph and Aang erected a large earth wall to shield everyone. Zuko looked a bit toward the side and looked in actual worry for his sister, knowing she couldn't stop the Shredder. Shredder sent a blast from the sword toward Azula as the light reflected in her eyes before she propelled herself upward with flames from her hands. While she was in the air, she kicked downward to send a vertical arc of blue flame at Shredder, which he cancelled out with a swipe from his sword. He jumped toward the side to avoid a fire blast that Azula sent as she landed. Azula went on the offensive as she propelled herself forward with fire from her feet as though she were skating and sent multiple fists of blue flame toward Shredder. He was easily able to block all her attacks with the sword. She tried to come in close with a fiery slash with the intent of decapitating him, but Shredder caught her wrist with her free hand and delivered a knee to her gut, knocking the wind out of her as he tossed her aside like a rag doll. Azula took a few deep breaths of exhaustion, as she was still tired from her fight against Zuko and Karai. She saw Shredder standing amidst the blue flames as he began to taunt her. Look at you. Shredder spat. You're pathetic, fighting like a naive child. You cannot defeat me with simple emotion, not even your lightning was enough to stop me. Oh, I'll show you lightning. Azula yelled as she readied a lightning attack. Not even giving Shredder time to respond, Azula thrusted her fingers forward and sent a very powerful lightning bolt at Shredder, who responded with a blast from the sword of Tengu. The two attacks met in the middle. Boom. Asterisk. A powerful explosion erupted, turning what was left of the large lab into nothing more than rubble. Everyone was blown back, hero and villain alike, including those who were already unconscious. Aang, Leo, Zuko, Katara, Raph, Toph, Mikey, Dawn, Sokka, Suki, Karai, and Splinter groaned a bit as they were previously blown away and found themselves stuck on the ground, but still conscious and alive. Shredder was blown back to a wall that was close to the opening that led to his rocket. Much of his armor was blown away in the blast, including his helmet revealing the face of Oroku Sake. He looked in his right hand and saw his sword was missing. It was just on the ground to the right of him, still intact. However, before Shredder could move, he heard a familiar yell and saw Azula blasting herself directly at him, her look of rage still present. She slammed herself into Shredder and onto the wall as her hand lit on fire. "I'll kill you," Azula yelled as she used her fiery hands to literally try and tear Shredder apart as he was unable to block her. She slashed at his body, face, and arms, with no sign of stopping. "You monster. I'll kill you." Azula slashed at his face and knocked him down briefly. She pulled him back up by the throat and saw half of the skin on his face was peeled off. However, her anger turned into shock when she didn't see flesh below the skin but metal, the face of a robot. "What?" Azula breathed in confusion. She wanted to see if he had any flesh. She used fire in her hand to swipe away at the abdomen of what was left of his armor. As she slashed it all away, she had revealed the full body and face of the Utrom, Chirel. "What in, you?" Azula stuttered as she actually backed up, but it wasn't in fear, it was of complete and utter confusion as Chirel glared at her. "What are you?" Chirel used Azula's confusion to his advantage as he quickly rolled his exosuit over to the Sword of Tengu, which he picked up and blasted Azula back with it. Chirel then began to walk toward his ship as he spoke. "Computer. Voice authorization Chirel." A computer spoke from the ship. Voice authorization recognized. "What are your orders, Master?" The door to the ship opened as Chirel walked across the bridge. "Commence launch immediately." Commencing launch sequence in T-60 seconds. The door to the rocket closed as Chirel was now inside with the Sword of Tengu in his hands. The turtles, Team Avatar, Karai, and Splinter all slowly got up as some had to help a few others up. Mikey groaned. "Anyone got the number of that bus?" He rubbed his head. "Come on. We have to stop him," Aang declared as everyone was back on their feet. Zuko got back on his feet and saw the unconscious body of his sister against the wall. He quickly ran toward her and held her head up. "Azula." She coughed a bit as she weakly opened her eyes and looked at her brother. "Don't look at me like that. Are you okay?" he asked honestly. "Forget about me." She looked at him with a determined expression. "Just